I bet those glasses make you see better.
For the first one, he thinks that 33 million men, 33 million men would want to, and somehow do horrible things to you, which would include murder. The second one's 55 million men, by your estimate, would want to
fix that, Nick.
Do something horrible to you in that situation. The other one's estimates were still beyond high, but you really think that 33 million men in the United States want to murder you in a forest if they could? Like, honestly, do you think that?
No, I was kind of just shooting a random number. I wasn't, like, I feel like it's so broad, I don't know the percentages very for that. So no, I meant not a lot. Let's just go with not a lot.
Okay, and then the other one's roughly 55 million. You think roughly 55 million men want to murder you in a forest?
No.
That is, no.
I would like to say that, like, the misconception and, like, the high estimates are coming from the idea that as women, we are kind of conditioned to fear the idea of getting attacked by a man and be afraid of that. And so our estimate would be high because we already think the probability of getting attacked would be high, given that women are not necessarily safe when they walk alone. I think that's where the misconception is.
Yeah, doesn't that seem to you to be illegitimate, though? If your estimates are so high that you believe that as many as 55 million men in your native nation would just murder you in a forest if they happen to be alone with you? I mean,
okay,
don't you think that kind of conditioning might be a little bit absurd?
I'll retract my estimate if it bothers you. But I would say that, well, like, I mean, I can stand by the fact that, like, maybe there's an overinflated estimate.
It bothers me. Wouldn't you retract it?
Well, you seem a little bothered, that's why.
Yeah, wouldn't you retract it, though, because you don't actually believe that 55 million men in your native nation would murder you horribly if they were in a forest with you?
You're right. I think that it was inaccurate, but I'm saying that even though it was inaccurate, I'm speaking to the inaccuracy and saying the reason why was because lots of women fear being attacked by men.
Yeah, but that doesn't sound like it's very justified that they fear that.
Are you a woman?
When we start talking about the actual, do I need to be a woman to note if it's justified by the numbers, whether you should fear that or not? I don't understand.
I don't
Shouldn't
think
I be able to use my
game.
logical brain, even if I don't have a vagina, to take note as to whether or not this is possible or not possible? Do I need to be a woman to note that 55 million men obviously and clearly don't want to kill you in a forest? Did I need to be a woman to know that?
I think you're a little stuck on the number. I think, like, really what we're talking about is the female experience, which you can't speak to.
Yeah, but I can speak to the male experience. And don't you think the male experience can speak to the male experience of how many men, I think, would actually want to hurt you?
Well, I'm really happy that you wouldn't hurt me in the forest. My estimate, and you're right, my estimate was overinflated, but I explained to you why it was overinflated.
Yeah, I know, but the reasoning, so I still have to take everything through a logical prism. So even if you tell me the reason that it was overinflated is because of X, that still has to make sense. Saying that it was this way because I just felt like it should be that way, that doesn't actually make any logical sense. You're not basing that on anything other than how you feel, right?
Right.
No, she based it on the fact that we're conditioned. We're actually taught to think this way, not just by our mothers, but by our fathers, especially like in the Hispanic household. Like, our fathers will be the one that tells you, don't trust the man in the wood.
Yeah, but that's really kind of strange because even right here on this panel, the estimates are wildly different as to how many women think that they would or would not be assaulted or murdered by men. So when you say we are taught, like as a collective, that clearly can't be true, as there's many women on this very panel who gave wildly different answers, right?
Yes, but not every man is a good father who teaches his daughters to be wary of a certain type of man. You know, not everyone is brought up in the same way.
That sounds like an indictment of being raised by mothers only.
Mothers only? What do you mean?
I was like, there would be nothing wrong with that. But
yeah, there wouldn't, but I'm confused on your point.
Well, because if you're saying that it would require some kind of strong man in the home to condition a daughter to know what type of man to look for, wouldn't that be an indictment of being in only a single mother home, that probably wouldn't be good for a kid?
No, because I started off that statement saying that it's not just mothers that do that it's also fathers. So therefore, like, it's both parents who have the ability to teach their children about these things.
Well, was it your father or your mother who told you that such a wildly disproportionate amount of men were going to assault you in a forest if you came across one?
If I'm gonna be honest, it was both, but it was mainly my father who wouldn't even let me go to a sleepover because of things like this.
Yeah, but I mean, there's a distinction between not wanting to let your teenage daughter go to sleepovers under certain types of conditions, rather than an indictment of men and that men are going to just do horrible things to you. That seems kind of silly, right?
Well, no, because he actually like taught me like why it wasn't, like, you know what I mean? Like, he didn't just say you can't go to a sleepover because I don't want you to. He told me the reasoning behind it and like gave me the whole talk, you know?
Yeah, so that's not really an indictment of men. That might have just been an indictment of the situation, right?
I love
Yeah,
that we
but
said.
I think what she's saying is that the numbers are so different because everyone has a different background experience of what they heard from growing up.
Exactly.
Nobody actually knows what percentage. We're just all guessing. So some have a higher percentage because that's what the information they received growing up. Some have a lower percentage because that's the information they received, but no one really knows.
Exactly.
Yeah, but that's why we're kind of having a back and forth on it, right?
Yeah.
We can assume that nobody knows the answer for sure, but we can still reason things out to make a determination. So, like, let me ask this question a slightly different way. Let's assume all of you were trapped in a forest. You were in a horrible plane wreck, and you were actually trapped in a forest, and there was a bear there. Now, the bear hadn't been overtly aggressive, but you have been avoiding it like the plague because you didn't want to find out. You're trapped in the forest. The bear is there. You happen to come across a man on the trail who has not noticed you yet. Would you ask him for help?
100%.
Go ahead, going around the table, would you ask him for help?
Oh, yeah. If
Yeah,
I'm lost in a
next.
forest, yeah.
Yeah, would you ask for help?
Before I answer this, I think that like I can see where your logic is going, where it's like, oh, why would you trust a random man if you were endangered?
Just answer the question, please.
Well, okay, yes, but I think I know where you're going with this. That's just what I'm gonna say.
Okay, and then next one, would you ask for help?
Probably not.
Probably not. You'd stay trapped in the middle of the forest with a bear. Okay, next one, would you ask for help?
Yeah, I would if it was a man or woman or they or anything. Yeah. I'd
Yeah,
ask
but it's a
him for
man
help.
specifically.
Yeah,
Oh, and
I
he
would.
has a rifle.
Yeah.
Right. And,
Yeah,
okay.
I still would.
And then next, would you ask him for help?
I'd eye him out first.
Yeah, I know, but you've eyed him out. He looks like a normal man, just like, Ted Bundy did and Jeffrey Dahmer did. He looks like a normal person.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And then next, would you?
Yes. But I think if you put the situation
Hang
like...
on, no qualifiers yet. Hang on. I just want to get everybody's answer. And then next,
Yes, I would.
you would. And then next.
Yes, 100%.
Okay, so now we can give all the qualifiers now that the whole table has gone around. So can you guys explain to me the logic of when you're asked the question, would you rather be trapped in the middle of a forest with a bear or a man, you say the bear, but then when asked if you were trapped in a forest with a bear and a man came along to give you help out of the forest, that you would ask the man for help. Can you explain that to me? I really would like to understand the logic.
I don't think I even answered actually the first time around. I just said I've seen a bear. So I don't, I don't think I answered.
No, you said you would prefer the bear because
Oh.
you've seen him.
Well-
And that you know how to deal with them because you're an experienced hiker and stuff.
I don't know if I'd say that. I don't know. I think being trapped with another person is obviously probably preferable just because you can have help, like building shelter, whatever, finding water, whatever you can. But then with a bear, if you're trapped in the woods, you're pretty much always with the bear. That's their home.
Okay.
That's where they live.
Okay.
So.
And then next gal, can you tell me why you would do that in contrast to your own logic? I'm just curious.
I think that it would just be out of desperation. Like in that sense, like it wouldn't be who's more dangerous or whatever the argument is supposed to be. It would just be a matter of like, oh my God, there's a bear over there, and we're two humans and that's a bear. I don't think it's not on the basis of gender.
Well, I didn't say it was on the basis of gender, but can you understand that it's really, really strange to me to hear if you're asked, would you rather be trapped in the forest with a man or a bear? And then when you say a bear, I say, and if you were trapped with a bear and it hadn't even shown signs of aggression, but you hadn't approached it because it could, and a man came by, would you ask for help? You say yes. Do you see why that sounds absurd to me?
No.
No. Well, because in contrast to this, you're basically trusting a man the same exact way to help you get out of this situation. But if you were put in the situation with a man, you would not expect a man to help you get out of the situation. It makes no sense. It's illogical.
In that sense, first of all, this isn't really a logic game, so I don't want to necessarily approach it 100% with logic. I think that there's some legitimacy to approach the situation with emotion, because I think everyone would be kind of scared. I think in this situation, you would be trusting a man to protect you against a bear, as opposed to trusting yourself to make the decision against whether or not you're going to choose the man or the bear.
Yeah, so then why wouldn't you prefer to be trapped with the man instead of the bear if your assumption is that the man's going to protect you from the bear?
Well, I guess you could say that I could approach the man when I saw the bear and I have to trust that he's not going to attack me too, but like, I guess then it's just kind of a lesser of two evils.
But then why wouldn't you prefer to be trapped with a man over a bear if you're hoping that the man would extract you from being trapped with a bear?
I don't know which situation you're presenting here. Is it you alone and there's one or the other, or both at the same time?
Yeah, if it's you alone or there's one or the other, you can be trapped with a bear, you can be trapped with a man. You prefer to be trapped with a bear. However, in this situation where you are trapped with a bear, you would still, if a man was coming by, request his aid in making sure that you could get out of being trapped with a bear. That's nonsensical. It makes no sense. It's completely irrational.
Humans don't always behave rationally.
Yeah, but when they don't behave rationally, shouldn't they behave rationally?
Not necessarily.
Do you think that human beings should behave irrationally?
We're not robots. Like, it's not like we're
should I try to
calculating the
put a
logic
square
every time
tire
we
on
make
my
a
car?
decision. Like, do you always behave rationally?
Yes.
100% all the time.
Yes.
You've never gotten emotional and like made a rash comment or anything like that?
Just because I'm emotional doesn't mean I become irrational. But to my knowledge, I've never become irrational. It's possible, perhaps, that I have had too much to drink at certain points in my life or something like this, where I've lost my faculties. But yes, when I'm in my normal state of mind, I don't believe that I become irrational, no.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't think that irrationality is something that generally people strive towards.
I just think you're kind of oversimplifying the human experience by saying that, like, you know, you're a perfectly rational being and all these things would just innately make sense to you. Like, there's plenty of evidence that people make quote-unquote illogical decisions, by your definition, all the time.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that they should.
Well, I don't think that humans should or shouldn't behave. No one wakes up in the morning and says, I'm going to behave illogically.
Yeah, I know. So they shouldn't do that then.
I like that you wake up every morning and decide that you're going to behave logically. That doesn't mean that you will.
Yeah, but I should.
Well,
right?
Okay, everyone should, sure.
Right, that's my whole point. So if everybody should, then just saying that, hey, not everybody does, isn't really much of an argument, because we still agree that they should behave rationally. So when we have these scenarios and you kind of give me an irrational, logical basis for why it is that you choose A over B, shouldn't that question your foundations? Shouldn't you question your own foundations then in your own emotions to think, well, wait a second, perhaps I'm behaving irrationally and I shouldn't do that. By your own admission, you should not behave irrationally, right?
Like, I see your point, sure, but I don't know. I don't think that I, like, have necessarily, like, the strongest motivation to, like, perfectly behave rationally at all times. I always think that there's, like, a better, like, an answer that's better explained by the context in that situation.
Well, I mean, sure, there could be answers which are better explained in the context of the situation, but they would be rational answers, right?
You really like this word rational. Do you have any others?
Do you prefer logical?
You
seem to like the word emotional. Do you know any others?
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
I just think that you just seem really stuck on the idea of logic, and like, I just don't think that this is really an argument about logic unless you're trying to prove a point about women.
Oh, it's illogical, yeah.
About
That's
women
my whole
supposedly
point.
thinking it's illogical to fear being alone in the woods with a man.
Well, it seemed to be by your own logic that it's an irrational fear if you would still allow a man to extract you out of a situation with a bear, why you wouldn't just want to be trapped with a man to begin with. That seems totally irrational. It's essentially the same scenario. You just remove one item, and suddenly the entire situation changes, and there's really no reason for it to change. It doesn't really make any sense. They're both still strangers in this scenario. They're both still men in this scenario. You're still actually technically trapped with both of them in this scenario, but you would still
You're right.
have the
It's so
preference of the bear.
different though, because like if there's a bear and a man, it's like a whole different situation. Because like, what man in the right mind is gonna still think about like SAing you while there's a bear right there? Like that's like.
Well, couldn't
like,
you
that's
just
how
take
she
out the
said
bear
it's
and
two
then get
humans,
ya?
one bear at that point.
That's what I'm saying is that
It's
there's
not
two
man,
threats at this
woman,
point. It's not
bear.
just one.
It's just two humans. That like that's why we're choosing that option, because it's just like those two humans against the bear is like way better logically.
Yeah, I know. But if that's the case, then why would you choose the bear to begin with? That makes no sense, logically.
Well, but if you're alone with only the man that is scarier than you are with both, you have more chances to just face. I guess the bear would be, if you want to like say it, it's a greater evil because you can't really communicate and say like, please don't attack me. But still, is much like, as a woman, safer to just like not be alone with a stranger, and that stranger being also a male, like a full man. Like,
But yeah, if you were, by your own admission, to ask a stranger who is a man for help and assistance because you were trapped with a bear, you're essentially putting the same trust in him as if you were trapped with him.
because he would also probably be scared of the bear, so he would probably put his life first instead of
He's trying
thinking
to
of
say that
anything
it's
else.
contradicting to your answer because
Well, he doesn't
if you
even
would
know
ask
that
a
the bear
man,
is there, right? He doesn't even know because you're asking him for help.
But like,
Doesn't
once
even
he
know
sees
about the
the
bear. The
why
bear is
he gonna
irrelevant to
attack
him. But you would ask him for help to extract you from the situation, thus putting your hands
Well,
or your life in the hands of a strange man.
Using your own words, it would be more rational for the man to be afraid of the bear compared to me.
Jess Gerald donated $200. I just like. Like. We should just like. I don't know like. Like a human like isn't like. I just like. Don't want to be wrong like.
It's literally my
Yeah,
English.
no, I agree
literally
with
my
you.
English.
I
I
think
sound-
that there's a good possibility that a man would be less afraid of a bear than you would be. But the point of the question is to ask you who you would prefer to be trapped with, a strange man or a bear. And the answer is a bear, but you would still put your trust in a strange man who you did not know to extract you from the situation of being with a bear. That's where it becomes irrational to me, where I lose the plot. I don't understand anymore. Because it seems like you're just doing the same exact thing.
do you guys get what he's saying or no?
I just want to like backtrack into like, so the second scenario, we are there, we are in a bad situation, there is a bear that we are aware of, and this strange man doesn't know, and we can ask him for help.
Yeah.
And the bear's like not doing anything, it's just there.
Yeah, it has not overtly shown signs of aggression to you being trapped with it yet.
Okay.
You haven't approached it, you haven't done any of that. You've been hiding from the bear, which I assume you would probably hide from a bear. I don't assume that you would approach it because none of you seem like you're stupid, right? You wouldn't approach a wild bear, would you?
No, I'm not like
No.
Mowgli.
No, you're not approaching a wild bear. So you have not approached this wild bear. You've been hiding from it. You see a man. He's in the forest. He's got a rifle slung. He's walking through the forest. He's by himself. You're in the middle of nowhere. You're otherwise trapped. Would you ask him for help?
I'll keep hiding from both.
So you would stay trapped with the bear rather than ask him for help.
I think
So
probably,
in order to be logically consistent, you would stay trapped with a bear in the middle of a forest rather than ask a man who you did not know for help to get you out of the situation of being trapped with a bear in the forest.
yeah.
And does that sound like that's rational either?
Well, it's not a rational situation. It's not a rational scenario.
It is
it's
a rational
a hypothesis,
situation.
but sure.
In fact, I can give you one such situation where something similar to this happened, absent a bear. You can look this up. I just did the other night when this came up because it had triggered a memory about this. There was a woman Her plane went down over the Amazon, and it was in the Amazon rainforest, and it crashed, and it broke her arm badly, and she was wounded badly, and she was trapped in the Amazon following the water for 5 days, totally wounded. She thought she was going to die, and guess who she asked for help? You'll never guess.
Oh, was it a man?
She came across a hut with 2 men, and she went into the hut and laid down and begged them for help. Begged them, please. And, of course, they didn't trap her and SA her, these Amazonians. They went and got her help after they patched her up, of course, and got her out of there. And then she made a full recovery. It's quite an amazing story. It's very, very rare that such a thing happens, but it does happen. Such things do actually happen. So it's not really an irrational scenario. It's a good thought exercise that maps onto reality. So I just want to ask you one more time. You would hide from the man and stay trapped with the bear. I just want to make sure that that's your answer.
So I have actually something that maybe you would like some evidence.
Hang on. Just let her answer real quick.
Give your
answer.
answer.
Would stay.
Switch it, Nick.
Yeah, I think that was a beautiful story, and that's very nice. Very glad that that happened to her. But I would probably hide. I'd just be scared in general.
Yeah. What? You would stay trapped with a bear in the middle of the forest rather than ask for help from him. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Can I
Anyway.
give like a little more realistic of a situation? So say you're like at a bar or at a club, how much more likely is it when everyone's intoxicated that you get SA'd as a woman? I think a lot more likely, and it's a more real situation. I think that's kind of what women are trying to speak up against these days.
What in the world does that have to do with this scenario?
Well, I'm just saying if we're being more realistic about the scenarios that happen today for college girls or girls in their 20s or early 30s when they go to bars and clubs, yes, you could avoid the situation and not put yourself in that space, but it does happen a lot.
Yeah, but what in the world would that have to do with this scenario? I still don't understand. I understand that you're saying in a situation where
right, as to why
you're
women
a young woman
feel
who's at a club or something like this, you should be very cautious about
I'm just
having your
saying
drinks
this
spiked.
is why
Sure.
women feel intimidated by men, you know, because they've had experiences like that. And I picked man, and I would ask for help
I get
from a
it.
man,
I understand that, but I'm not sure how that maps onto being trapped with a bear in the wilderness. I'm not sure how that maps on at all.
I'm not referring to that situation. I'm saying let's put ourselves in a more realistic situation because most of us don't go
You
out
mean
hiking
change the entirety
by
of the hypothetical?
Right, but I'm just saying that this is where it's coming from. A lot of women have had those experiences.
So let me get this right. So because some women have their drinks spiked in bars and get SA'd, that means they shouldn't ask for help if they were ever in the wilderness trapped with a bear?
No,
Does that make sense to you?
That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying the reason.
Then that's why you should stick with the premise of the hypothetical, because otherwise we're going to end up with all kinds of absurd conclusions, right?
It's not an absurd conclusion. It's what happens these days. If you're wondering why these women would pick bear over man, it's probably because they've had an experience where a man has assaulted them in one way or another.
Let us assume for a moment that you had been assaulted by multiple men, okay, which I'm sure has happened to all sorts of different women. Why in the world would that make it more or less rational to trust a man you do not know if you're in a situation where you were trapped with a bear? Can you make that make sense for me?
Here, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Wait, well, I believe the question's directed at you.
Okay, say that one more time. Why would...
Yeah, even assuming that a woman had been many times SA'd under the circumstances that you're talking about, which is horrific. Can you explain to me why that would make it more rational for her to not request that a strange man aid her that she did not know if she was trapped with a bear in the forest? Why would that be suddenly a more rational decision? I don't understand that.
I don't think I ever said it'd be a more rational decision. I just think that some women have a hard time trusting men because of experiences that they've had in their life. That's really
So then it's irrational. So then it would be irrational still, even if that had happened. So even if I grant the entire premise of why you feel that way, it still would not be rational to not request aid from a strange man if you were trapped in the wilderness with a bear.
Yeah,
Right.
I've never disagreed on that.
Yeah, so it would still be irrational. So I still don't even understand the premise then. What she's saying is irrational. It makes no sense.
I got a couple questions on this, and then we'll move on to a new topic. Nick, feel free to show that one, and then I'll read a couple chats here. So, does it change anything if you were, instead of the venue or the location being a forest, would your answer change if it was just a room, a 10 by 10 room?
That we're stuck in the room?
Would you rather be in a room, 10 by 10 room, with a bear, or a random man, randomly selected man? So it could be a man who would be inclined to murder you, or it could be I'm sure you guys have all met good, decent men. Could be a good, decent man too. More likely to be. Anyways, I shouldn't preempt that, but which do you pick if you're in a room?
The man. I don't want to be in a room with a bear.
I don't know. Like, I think it does change it because like the woods is totally different than like an enclosed space.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't know if I could really pick one. I think that I just wanted to speak on one last thing. I think that when we talk about like, it would be so irrational for someone to not want to be in the woods with a man as opposed to a bear, there's the idea of the availability heuristic, where the things that are the most salient in your mind will end up like determining the logic that someone has in that situation. So we hear a lot more about like men potentially assaulting women, and sure, we hear about bear attacks too, and so people would be likely to be afraid of that. Like the classic example is like an airplane crash. Like people are afraid of flying on airplanes, even though statistically it's not likely to happen. So statistically, I may have miscalculated and said that 20% of men were likely to attack me. That's not logical at all. But
that would
you could
make
root
your
it. You could root it in
scenarios.
the logic of the availability heuristic.
Well, there is no such thing as a logic of availability. Logic is not like kung fu. Your kung fu is not better than my kung fu. There is only one kung fu in this situation. There's only one logic. There is not different forms of it. There's just one form of it. So the same thing with rationality. Rationality would be if you're saying something which maps onto logic or not. And so if you're saying something which is irrational, it's not logical. It makes no sense. It doesn't map onto it. So it's not like kung fu where you can say, my kung fu, my logic better than your logic. There is only one logic.
Okay, if that's the way that you want to interpret logic, then
No. That's the only way it can be.
That's
It's like
your
math.
way.
Okay, here, let me demonstrate it for you. So that you know that I'm telling the truth. Hang on. Can 2 plus 2 ever not equal 4?
Like if I were to like think about the logic of math, maybe there's someone who could come up
No.
with
Can
that.
2 plus 2 ever not equal 4?
By the rules of math, probably not. I don't know. Do you guys?
And the rules of math would be an extension of logic, right?
Well, life isn't exactly like math.
Unless there was missing information.
Yeah. But I
like
just
2
want to make
threes
sure that
plus
we're
2
clear
threes might
that
not
there can be no your math, my math, right? There cannot be
Unless there was missing
you have a math
information.
where 2 plus 2 does not equal 4, and I have a math where 2 plus 2 does equal 4. 2 plus 2 has to equal 4, right?
Unless there's missing information,
What?
because 2 plus 2, if there's missing information in the middle.
What do you
if it's-
mean? No,
Yeah,
it literally,
2
there is no,
threes
what
plus
missing
2
information?
threes. If there's missing
The
information.
question is,
yeah.
2 plus 2 equals 4.
Yeah.
Well, so what would be an example of missing information?
That would be like.
2 plus 2 plus 3?
No. That would be if
2
2
plus
was,
parentheses 2 times 2 parentheses plus 2 equals 4?
That would be, it would be illogical if you were
Into the
talking
mic,
about-
please. Can you?
Yes. So
Thank you.
2 plus 2 could not equal 4 only if there was missing information.
What missing information?
If the 2
Give
was
us an example.
Okay. If the 2 was referring to another group. So if you're saying
So A plus B equals 4.
no.
Okay, so what's... Sorry, go ahead. Okay, I'm sorry. It's just
Okay.
I've never heard this before. So
Okay.
please just try to explain.
Yeah.
I'm
I
stuck.
mean, I agree 2 plus 2 always equals 4 if you don't have any missing information. But
what?
if you have
Okay,
missing
what?
information,
What?
So assuming that you
Yeah.
have all the information, I understand
Okay.
what you're saying. You're saying that
Yes.
2 could be a representative of some other category that is not 2, right? But if 2 is a representative of some other category which is not 2, then it is no longer 2, correct?
Then it's no longer 2.
Yeah,
but
then it's no longer the same question. So assuming
that's
that
true,
the
but I
category
think
2 does not.
talking to her point, what she's saying is that there's missing information. When you guys talk about this question about man versus bear, there's missing information. Like, you guys are putting it up to like make fun of women for feeling like bad about feeling scared of a man. That's what I hear when I hear the question. You know,
but that's just
and,
feelings.
okay,
That's
well,
not-
I'd like
it's
to
not the
finish
intent.
if it's possible. So I think that you know, women were taught from a young age, like in middle school, I was shown a video about all the things that men could do to you. Like, they could go into your cars and slash your Achilles heel.
Yeah, hang on. Before we get into this, though,
Okay.
hang on, and I'll let you make your point because I want you to be able to. Can we get back to this idea that 2 plus 2, there's some scenario where 2 plus 2 is not going to equal 4?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
Two
you
groups
agree with
of
me that
3
there's
would
no,
not equal 4.
Hang on. That there's no scenario where if you understand that 2 represents 2 ones and another 2 represents 2 ones, that it is impossible to add 4 ones together and not get 4. Correct?
I agree. Without any missing information, I agree. But
okay, so then
I'm
it can't be.
comparing
It can't
to
be. Then
her.
hang on. So then hang on. I just want to make sure we're clear.
Okay.
So then it can't be her math versus my math. That's why I was making trying to get her to understand there's only one way to do logic because there's laws which govern logic, just like there's laws which govern mathematics. That's my point.
Yes.
So in one add-on question here, in a scenario where you're presented with 2 plus 2, what would be the scenario where there could ever be quote unquote missing information from an equation?
So that would be if 2 was referring to an amount. So if you're like, you know, in school we're learned that it's ones, like how Andrew said 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1. But
So
2 could be
3?
referring. No,
Like
1
2
plus 1
dozens.
plus
One
1.
plus
She's
one
making.
plus
She's
one
making.
plus
Brian.
one
She's making a category
equals
here. So what
4.
she's saying is she's saying you could have 2 as a representative of something which is not 2 ones.
Yes. We're taught in school
but
that
okay.
2 is represented by
Nick,
2 ones.
can you pull up a tab? Can you pull up a tab? Just a blank notepad, and then just write 2 plus 2.
Yeah, well, a calculator is going to always be in the 1s and 10s, just like we're taught in school.
Are you talking about like X and Y, A
No.
and B?
No. I'm talking about 1s and 10s. I think Andrew knows what I'm talking about.
Is she making sense, Andrew? Because I'm not following at all.
I'm trying to be as charitable to this as I possibly can, so I just want to make sure I got it clear. I think that what you're saying, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that you can utilize the representation of the number 2 to refer to information that has nothing to do with 2 ones, correct?
Yes.
Okay, got it. That you can do, but then the value 2 no longer represents what we're saying when we say 2, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you can do that, but it's just kind of meaningless ultimately to the question of 2 plus 2
I
equals
also
4.
feel like we're doing the thing with a man versus bear where it's becoming to that point too where we're like, you know, you're trying to like put someone down for feeling like they're scared of a man.
I think where they're going with it, it's not really anything like that. I think they're just saying, like, if you, for some reason, were stuck somewhere, would you rather be with someone that could help you, possibly, or with a bear that it's just they're in nature, they don't have any instinct of helping you or getting you out of there?
I agree that that's the question, but I'm talking about the intention of the question when you talk about it in a group like this. Like, you're trying to look at women and say, like, oh, isn't that funny that you're afraid to be alone with a man?
No,
I think they just took it. That's what I hear. That's what I hear. That's what I hear to her. You're saying, like, oh, ha ha. Like,
No, it is.
I don't.
Because I agree with your view. So hang on, let me be charitable to your view. I also think that the intent of the question is to get to something deeper. That's what you're saying here, right? The intent of the question is to get at something deeper. But that's what I'm doing with the logical cross-examination, is trying to see if when we go deeper, if this makes less sense or more sense. You say that that's to laugh at you, but I think that it's not to laugh at you, but it's to make a determination as to what is rational and true versus what's based purely on emotion. And so that's not shaming you.
Is
Isn't
it
the opposite
rational?
of shaming you?
Finish.
Isn't it the opposite of shaming you to say, listen, I'd like to rationally go through this to see if this actually makes sense, and I'm going to treat you as a peer while we do that. That seems like the opposite of shaming.
Yeah, well, you did that to her, and now I think it's time to move on.
Well, hold on.
I mean, he did that to her.
Did what?
I don't think he was trying to like shame her or anything. I think he was just
like personally, I don't feel shamed. I just don't think that you were really trying to understand my point. It came off like you were trying to look at this as a logic game when we all know that it's not.
It is.
Yeah, it is.
It is.
is
Like,
kind of.
Well,
It
like
is
I
logical.
think that the point is that like I don't see this whole scenario as necessary in the same way that you do, and that's fine. I just think that obviously we were trying to get at something deeper, and people were trying to explain that from their own experience, from emotion, or whatever it is that you think is superficial in this sense, or I don't know exactly how you're viewing it. I just think that in this situation, that's where people were coming from, and the idea of trying to boil it down to just a logic game is aside from the
How
point.
else can we determine, how can we make determinations about whether or not something's a rational fear or an irrational fear, or something makes sense or it doesn't make sense, unless we use logic and we use some way to probe this from some changing standard, which logic would be, to make a determination as to whether or not, hey, there could just be a mass delusion going on here. Perhaps you do think these things from the position of how you feel. That's fine. I'm not saying you can't feel that way. I'm just saying it could be irrational that you feel that way. And
It's
so
like-
how am I supposed to discuss it with you if you just shut down and say, but I hate that logic stuff because all that matters is how I feel? Doesn't that seem, again, irrational?
I think that it's just a sensitive topic, so people get heated over it.
Wait, you were gonna come in on something?
Yeah, I was just gonna comment on the whole rationality thing. Like, I think her point is, like, this doesn't have anything to do with like rationality, because it's like putting on a seatbelt. Like, you put on your seatbelt just because, like, in case. It's like in case situation. Like, you're not gonna choose the man in case something were to happen. It's not just it's not because we're like, oh, there's like this percentage that it's gonna happen to me today. Today's the day. Like, if I choose the man, it's gonna, like, no one's thinking about it in that way. It's just like.
Can I ask you a
in
question?
case.
So
But then hang on. I get it, but wouldn't that be irrational then?
Christine donated
Wouldn't it be
$200.
irrational?
As a female, I will be honest and say that this bear versus man debate is just a low-key way for
Wow.
us women to remind you men that we hate you and or have a low-level contempt towards your gender. F you.
Damn.
I mean, I do actually think that's what it is. There's no, it's not rational, it's not logical. It's simply social signaling about how much women either don't like men or how they feel. This is a perception, how they feel they
Can
are
I say
unsafe
something?
around men. Can you let me finish my
the reason
statement?
I think this, I would just want to give you my perspective real quick, and then I'll turn it back over, right? I think that people could put themselves, especially women, in much greater danger by only appealing to their emotion instead of refusing to appeal to logic, rationality, but rather just appealing to emotion. I think that that's a way that people put themselves in much higher categories of danger. So when I'm assessing this, I think, well, maybe you're also doing something which is horrible for you, and you don't even realize that you're doing something which is horrible for you. You know what I mean? How can I make those assessments as to whether or not you're even doing what's in your own best interest if I can't rationally analyze it? If I have to just go off of your emotions?
You had something?
I was just going to say, logically, are you scared of something that's bigger than you, that's stronger than you? Us as women, we are weaker to men, so I think it is a little bit of a survival instinct just to be on the lookout. I mean, if we're talking about
Well, I
rationality
mean-
and
But
logic,
a bear-
I'm not
Let me answer your
saying,
question.
No, I'm not saying that all men are bad and will hurt you. I think most men
No,
want
I'm
to
not
help,
saying that
lead, and
either, but
protect,
you
but
asked
I'm
the question.
saying
The
logically,
question that you
if
asked,
you're
hang on,
stronger than me,
Yeah, but the question that you asked is, isn't it logical to be afraid of things which are bigger and stronger than you? Well, then by that logic, men should be afraid of many other men, right?
right? So, like, if you're in a fight, for example, and the guy is way bigger than you, aren't you going to be a little bit more nervous to fight him, for example?
Yeah, so that would be rational. So in this particular case,
Exactly.
then, what's bigger, a man or a bear?
Are we
What has
still on
more
this? I thought we were
attacks?
just talking about men.
Can we talk about
Yeah,
that?
I know, but
though?
I'm following your
Like,
logic.
can we talk about
right?
who attacks more women?
Because if the logic is if something is bigger and stronger, you should be more afraid of it. And I agree with you that that's true. Then we would immediately default to the bear being way bigger and stronger than a man, so we should be way more afraid of it, right?
Absolutely, but I'm just saying if you're talking about logical and why women are afraid of men, well, it's because you guys are bigger. It's because you guys are faster. Some might even say that you guys are smarter because we act on emotions more. So of course we're going to be
Okay,
a little
but hold
afraid,
on, hold on,
right?
hold on. So like, let's just grant that, fine, a bunch of women, you're scared of men are scary. Let's grant it. Even if that were the case, it's still the suboptimal choice, just logically, that it would be a bear. To pick a bear, it's still
Absolutely, I agree.
Okay, I don't even know what you're arguing about then.
No, but you guys were saying
Let me bring it back to this. I was asking, would you rather be in a room with a man or a bear? And I was waiting for your answer. You didn't really give one.
Like, for argument's sake, a man.
I'll stick with my bear from the beginning.
Still would
I'll
rather
stick
be in
with
a
my
room
bear, sure.
with a bear. Okay.
It's equal chances.
Man.
It's equal chance for what?
Well,
To be attacked?
50-50, they're going to be either crazy or they're going to be fine. It's either going to
So
be
wait,
like
50% of men would attack you in that situation.
not 50%, but like this is a random stranger.
Yeah,
it's
random
like
stranger.
they're either going to be, let's say, normal, sane and not attack me, or they will.
So it's a coin toss when
Yeah.
it comes to men.
And to
So
the bear as well.
50-50.
Either the bear will be fine and just be like
So,
sitting.
but in order for
Like,
that to be true, you have to say that 50% of men would attack you.
well, you never know. It's a coin toss every time.
No, but
It's a stranger. It's stranger danger. Like that could be any person.
yeah,
That's
but
how I
50%
like.
of men would not. I mean, maybe that's your position.
Yeah.
50% of men would
Not like
attack you.
a stranger. Even if it's like the whole
Right.
male population, I don't know the whole male population. 50-50, I don't know what's gonna happen.
But you.
Well, are you more likely to be assaulted by a stranger or by a member of your family statistically, or by somebody you know?
Somebody you
I
know.
don't know the
family, actually,
statistics
yeah.
to be
Somebody you
honest.
know.
Somebody, it's not only by somebody you know, it's overwhelmingly somebody you know. It's almost every case is somebody you know. It's very rare for strangers to actually assault people that they don't know. It's actually very rare. I'm just letting you know that so that you know.
Room, man or bear?
Man.
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 Still bear. Just because I don't like people.
Okay.
If I'm gonna get killed by the bear, that's okay.
Versus surviving with a man?
Yeah.
You'd rather be killed by a bear than live with, like,
No, that's
you're not stuck in the room. Let's say you're in the room for 30 minutes, an hour with
No,
this.
that's not. I just don't like. It
You
could
want
be.
the
It could be a woman.
experience.
It could be a woman in the.
So, what? You'd rather be in a room with a bear than a woman for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Are you trolling?
No,
There's
not at
no
all.
way this is. Do you have a death wish?
No.
What?
Well, clearly you do. If you were actually, let's assume this was a situation you were actually faced with. Say it was I don't know, fucking TV show or some shit, man or bear. Okay, you have two doors. One leads you to a room with a bear. One leads you to a room with a woman. You're picking the bear?
Yeah.
Are you like thinking of harming, like self-harming?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Do you have
mean,
thoughts of like?
No. I mean, I work with large animals, so it's not like different.
Okay.
I'm around them all the time.
Would you rather be in a room with a woman who you know for like fact is like a total pacifist, or like a bear who you know is going to kill you? Which room do you pick?
Well, obviously, if I know it's gonna kill me, I'd pick the woman. But it's not guaranteed that the bear is gonna.
Let's say it's a 50% chance that the bear attacks you. I can't believe what I'm fucking hearing. I'm sorry. This is like actually. Okay, I should just let you answer, but which one do you pick?
Bear.
Bro.
Even a woman, I mean, I can't believe my ears.
Consistency.
I cannot believe my ears. What about, okay, grizzly bear.
Grid 1 Motorsports donated $200. It is rare to see so much group copium.
I'm going to read
The
some
derangement
chats.
required to think random men want to hurt you is delusional and literally stupid. Please Frank Castle the entire panel and start over.
Thank you, good
You know
one.
what else
Appreciate
is
it.
deranged though, and what takes a lot of derangement to
What's
spend
that?
$200 just to say that.
I don't think you want to invoke his wrath.
I do. I really do.
Oh, is it the same
All
person?
right, okay. We have a chat here from Soulfist. Can we have you read this one?
Oh God,
Wait,
wait,
hold
where
on.
is it?
Go ahead. There it is.
So sad to see these women think that a man's first instinct would be to attack them. If a man is trapped in the woods, then he's trying to survive just like you. He's not worried about hurting you.
All right. Thank you, Soulfist. Appreciate the message and the patronage, man. And we have another one that's going to pop up here in just a moment from Blake, 1991. Thank you, Blake. Go ahead.
Hey all, Andrew is a legend. Brian is great. Maddie
Yo, thank
is
you, Blake.
gorgeous. And I want, what does that say? Gustavo? Is that how you say it?
Gustavo.
Gustavo's job. First time donating and love the...
Yo, Blake, thank you, man. Appreciate your first time message. Thank you for the patronage. And we are looking for some more background characters, so you never know if you're in Santa Barbara. We need someone local. Okay. I don't know. Look, the whole thing, the whole bear versus man thing, I just think it's basically just like anti-male fear-mongering. Okay, one other... Just
Can
a few
I,
other.
Can I say something really quick
Sure,
though?
go ahead.
Like, you know what makes it so much like funnier though? It's the fact that like at first women were just like, oh, I picked the bear. But then it was like the men that were like, oh, she picked the bear over me? She rather be in no, and like then they start like talking about how they want to get like really violent with these women who are picking the bear, and it's like
Okay.
like proving the point. Like
Do you
that's why
think
she didn't
it's-
want to pick the bear. like
So
you
this
really
is
think he picked
this is
you?
one of the worst coping straw men that I've ever heard. What men are out there saying how much they want to be violent with women who pick the bear?
It's all over
Who?
Twitter, all over Twitter.
It's not
and
all.
over
Can you show me a
TikTok.
single tweet of men
I
being
don't have my
threatening
phone
towards
on
women
me.
because they
You
would pick
guys
the
took
bear?
my
A single
phone.
one?
How are you gonna ask me to show you something when you guys took my phone?
Yeah. Okay. What's your? I can go to your Twitter. What is your Twitter handle? I'll take a look right now. There's actually men there who are saying that they're going to be violent with you
I
because
didn't
you picked the bear.
retweet this, but you can go on my Twitter if you'd like, whichever way. But it's all over my timeline, yeah.
And men are saying on your timeline that they want to hurt you because you picked the bear.
Not me. They're responding to women online who are saying they picked the bear, saying like, "Oh my God, like, see, this is why we fucking hate you." Like,
That's not saying that they want to hurt them.
no, they are.
Because
Just search
that's
it
not
up.
saying that
Just
they
search
want to
it
hurt
up
them
if you'd
because they
like.
picked the bear.
Fact check me. Fact check me.
Do you think it's wrong for men to be upset by women's answers that they'd rather be in the woods with a bear than
I don't
with a
think
man?
it's wrong to be upset, but like if you're gonna get upset and then
Why,
start getting
why do you
violent,
think men
it's a little-
are upset by it? Why do you think?
I feel like the men that are upset are the ones that like place themselves in that shoe of like, I wouldn't do that. But I feel like the man who knows that he wouldn't do that wouldn't even get upset. Like they wouldn't care about this whole issue. Like you don't see a
Okay,
high value
let me ask you a
man
question.
talking about this
Sure.
discourse, really.
Oh, okay, let me ask you a question. So, if a woman...
So you don't see millionaires talking about this discourse? You don't see men who are high-level elite athletes who talk about this? You don't see, for instance,
No.
bodybuilders who have sent out tweets about this because that's all over Twitter. Would you like me to give you some examples?
Of men entertaining this whole discourse with more than a laugh? Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, with more than a laugh, where they say, "Hey, this seems like it's mass delusion."
What do they say?
So
oh my
that's
God,
what
absurdity.
that's what they're.
What
That's,
absurdity.
hang on, I'm
It
trying
is
to answer your
it is
question.
absurd.
Calm down. What they're trying to point to is that there's a mass delusion which is going on, and that women have become so far removed from nature, the natural order of things, that they believe that due to the pampering that they have in modernity, that they would actually make this choice. But when presented with that actual choice, we don't actually believe that they would. We think that they're basically full of shit. That's what, so basically what the argument's really about is whether or not women in modernity are being delusional or not.
So wouldn't you as a man like question what causes that instead of getting mad at the woman
Yo,
themselves?
please, speak into the mic.
Wouldn't you question that? as
Yeah,
like
that's
a,
what I've been doing.
yeah.
Questioning that.
So, where did that lead you to? Or were you not able
Well,
to
what
come
it
to any
led me to is
conclusions?
that the answers that I get are completely irrational. So I would have to assume that this
Do you
is some
need
form
help?
of
'Cause I can help you with some
Hang on.
statistics
I'm
since
trying to
I know
answer
you
your
love
question. I
math.
just let you speak. I don't know why you won't return the favor, but anyway, when you ask me the question of what did I find out, well, I'm diving into it with you right now, and the answers have been totally irrational. So I have to assume that you're living under some kind of delusion here.
Okay, do you want me to help you out with some simple math? And you can fact check me again, like I said. Okay.
okay.
So if you search up the amount of bear attacks, and we're going to talk just about the U.S. right now. If you search up the amount of bear attacks in the U.S., it's not that many. You search up the amount of SA attacks, wow. And again, you're going to say, oh my God, it's because there's so many more men than bears. Just do the simple conversion. I don't have to.
Yeah.
I haven't, but
Actually,
someone
I
else
did. Just so you know.
Yeah.
So let me give you some counterfacts.
Okay.
Do you know what per capita means?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so do you think that people who are around bears they frequently are around bears for long periods of time, whether they train them, work with them, they're in circuses with them, do you think that their attacks by bears are less than that of women who perhaps are around men all the time in the workplace and things like this?
Well, you're working with a bear at a circus. Yeah, I would think there's a high chance of you getting attacked.
So then what we have discovered by your logic now and by kind of diving into this a little bit more is that the reason that there's such an infrequency of bear attacks on people is because people aren't usually around bears. But the people who are around bears tend to get attacked by bears a lot more than women who are around men tend to get attacked by men. So
Yeah,
what you're saying
but-
here actually makes no sense either, does it?
Yeah, but again, in this situation, are we in a circus with a bear or are we in the woods with a bear? You're not
You're in the
talking
woods
about
with a
the
bear. So
percentage
then
of,
that's
bear
even better.
attacks in the woods.
Yeah, so that's even better. So if you're in the woods with a bear and you know that per capita, if you're around a bear, you're far more likely to get attacked by the bear than if you're around a man, then wouldn't it be rational to choose the man?
No, but that's where you're wrong. That's where you're way more likely to be attacked by the man.
You're not way more likely to be attacked by
Where's
the
the
man. If you break
stats
it down
for
per
that?
capita, those who spend time with bears get attacked by bears a lot more
No,
than
but
those
we're
who spend
talking
time
about the
around
hike.
men.
No, we're talking about the hike again, remember? So where's the stats for
No,
you
it's not a
being more
hike.
likely?
The conditions are you're trapped in the woods with a bear. So you're around the bear. You're in the bear's territory. You're around it.
You will cross
just like
that.
you would be if you're in a circus, just like you would be in these situations.
That's
you
not
still
the same
choose
thing
the
as you
bear.
being
That
in
seems
the
highly
proximity
irrational to
of
me.
training a bear at a circus. You cannot compare those two stats. You can't compare stats like that.
Listen, here's the comparison. The comparison is to say that there's lots and lots and lots of women who are around lots and lots and lots of men. You agree that that's true, right?
Yes.
Because of those conditions, because they're around them so much, the chances become significantly increased that there could be an attack on a woman by a man. However, the infrequency of the amount of times that people engage with bears is very low. So of course, bears and their attacks are going to be far lower than that of men on women. However, if you take it per capita and you look at how many people are around bears in some type of capacity, you find out, oops, you are very likely to get attacked by a bear in some significant way if you're around them, just like if you're around men. That's why that exists that way.
Yeah, but your point is so irrelevant when you're considering the fact that your examples are you being in an unnatural situation with a bear. You at a circus, training a bear, having a bear as a pet, whatever it is that your example is not the same thing as
It doesn't
you being
hold on.
in
It doesn't even
natural
have to be.
habitat.
It doesn't even have to be this circus scenario.
That's
when
what
he's
you
saying
mentioned.
per capita, it can also be viewed as per encounter. So if you actually make a comparison of human encounters with bears, and you make a comparison to women who are assaulted.
Right. So the amount of times that human beings would be assaulted by these strange animals they come in contact with, which they rarely come in contact with, would be far higher than the amount of men that they come in contact with, which is a daily occurrence all the time, nonstop.
That is
That's the
very
point.
false because, again, who reports seeing a bear if they don't get attacked by the bear? So who's to say?
What?
He's saying the stats of just encountering a bear, you get attacked, right? Who's going to have
I'm
the
sorry,
stats
when you're
of
talking
how
about
many-
SA statistics, don't most SAs go unreported?
Yeah, so the SA statistics
Okay, well
would be
then
even
how do you know
higher.
by that logic that they've actually been SA'd?
Okay, but no, you're actually helping my point because in that case, the SA statistics is even higher than we know. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I know, but if it is higher than we even know, and you're saying that most of them go unreported, then how can we actually know that they were ever SA'd by the same logic of bear attacks, by how many people see bears, but it goes unreported? It's the same logic. You believe the one stat, but won't believe the other.
Because of I'm saying when people see a bear and they aren't attacked, they're not
Mm-hmm.
going to report that. That's my case.
Yeah, but I'm
Do you not
saying that
understand
women
that?
who have
So
not
when
been
you're
SA'd, that
saying,
would be
oh,
the same
people
logic in
encountered
reverse, though, and you
bears.
believe it, right?
But then you're telling me that there's a stat of when people encountered the bear versus when they got attacked, and I'm saying that doesn't really count because of the fact that they're not reporting all the encounters of bears when they're not attacked. Do you get my point or no?
Well, I don't, but let us just grant it for a second, just for the sake of argument. It still wouldn't matter if you're around men all the time, and I assume you are in some capacity, right? You're around men all the time in some capacity. Is that true or false? Yeah, it's true. Okay. And most of those men, almost none of those men try to assault you, right? Maybe some do, but most, the overwhelming majority, probably do not, right? Yeah, so if that's the case, then we can apply this to the more time that you spend with random men, the more likely it is that you're going to get assaulted. We would have to do the same thing with bears. The more time you spend around random bears, the more chance you get assaulted. Which one do you think will assault you quicker? The random bears you spend more time with or the men? That's the question.
The bear.
The bear, exactly. So it's actually irrational for you to say that you would rather be stuck in a forest with a bear. Again,
You know what's so
that's the
rational?
point.
The fact that there's been how many women who have gone and gave you how much time explaining all this and you still didn't get the point.
What's the point?
I'm not gonna go ahead and
May I?
spend all this time.
Well, I just want to let you know he tried to move it on, but you brought it back to this. That's why we're in this engagement again. You actually said, "Can I speak to this again?" And that's why we're back to it again.
That's true.
We were
It's
still
true.
on the bear. I just went back to my point. We never
Right,
left the bear.
right.
Can
And then I
can
responded to your
can we
point,
grant
but you
that?
brought
we
the
never
conversation
left the bear
back, not me.
situation. So I just continued.
Yeah, but he's
the
responding
discourse.
to you.
Yeah. And was I supposed to stop responding and just sit back?
Well, no. He said, "I would like to move the conversation on," and you were like, "But wait, can I just make one more point?" Which is fine, but then if you bring it back to this, of course we're going to argue about it again,
Yeah. Valid.
I was
right?
What was that?
I was just gonna say I think the topic has been discussed ad nauseum and it's
Way more
over.
than enough.
It's been over. So
Yeah.
next topic.
Well, hold on. I'm the host. If I want to talk about this all fucking night, I will. But two last quick questions on this, and we will move on.
Oh, boy.
I do find it interesting that a lot of women pick the bear, but I mean, how many of these same women who pick the bear will gladly go over to a strange man's house who she matched with on Tinder, go back to his house after drinking and partying? You guys probably all know girls that meet a guy at some fucking frat party, fuck him that night, all alone. Absolutely no issues there. So it's interesting, though, when we put you in this venue that's a bit, in the woods versus some dingy frat house, things change up real quick. So
No, I would say that's concerning either way.
sure.
So I don't.
Sure.
I
I mean, I would argue probably let's be honest, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but probably you guys have at least had one maybe casual sexual encounter
I
with a
think
man.
the main, which I think is the sad point of this whole debate, is how there is this social fear that's, I feel how do I say the words in English, growing up as a girl, we hear that a lot, be aware.
You've been programmed.
And stuff, yeah.
You've been
so
programmed.
I think that is, the biggest part of this debate, how it's that sad thing, how we have been programmed this way by so many scenarios and just things and hearsay and this and that, or a bunch of things.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, there is just just fear, irrational or not, because
Sure.
we've been in scenarios that may be similar, but
Sure.
it's just like a sad thing in
Yeah.
the end.
And I mean, to address your thing about like, why are all these men so kind of upset about this? Isn't it the case that women frequently get upset about sexist statements towards women?
Yes.
Would you at least agree that saying that you would rather be alone with a bear as compared to a man is a sexist statement?
Yeah.
No, because it's more just so saying who wants to be with what. Like, I'm saying I personally rather choose the bear. I'm not saying that every woman should choose the bear. So it's not a sexist statement saying
Well,
I would choose the bear.
Well, even on the individual, even on the micro level, you saying you would rather be with a animal who does have tendencies to be violent. This isn't like a totally benign animal. Bears are larger than men. They can be very violent. It's not a benign animal. So you don't think it's sexist to say that?
I stand by my
So
statement.
you don't think it would be sexist for me to say I'd rather be with a bear than with a woman?
If you have your reasons for that, I wouldn't take offense either way.
But would it be sexist for me to say, for example, let's say this is a woman she's a gold digger. It's not a perfect one-to-one comparison, but I'm making a almost presuppositional judgment about her. Oh, she's a gold digger.
You're asking
This
me
is
if that's
totally
sexist?
not even, yeah.
No. I
Is
don't
it?
think-
It's not sexist to presuppose women are gold diggers?
Oh, you're saying if you say every woman's a gold digger?
Isn't that what you're saying about men?
No, I didn't say every man would attack me. I was
It
just saying.
seems like you say the majority of men would.
No, I never said that. I
Didn't
said
you say like 50% or something?
No, I didn't.
What was your
That-
percentage
My
for men?
percentage was actually 7. So.
Was it?
Yes.
I recall it was.
It was 5 to 7. You can fact check
Okay.
me.
At one point you said a lot. I
yeah,
think you said a lot
it
or
was
it'd be high.
30% that
Okay.
was questionable that I said. That would make me uncomfortable.
Well, I'm going to
And I
ask you
also
guys,
stand by
going
that.
around the table, I mean, do you guys think it's sexist?
Ginger donated $200. Yes, there's a point about the man versus bear situation. I'm one of those women that is a part of the statistic that's trying to be made. But at the end of the day, I'm choosing man. I would rather survive.
Which is totally rational, by the way.
Thank you, Ginger. I mean, I think the other component of this is if you pick a man, the outcome can be good. In other words, he could help you in some way. It could be neutral. He goes along his way, doesn't want to help you in the woods or whatever. Or it could be a negative experience. Whereas with the bear, it's going to be a neutral experience. They just leave you alone. Or it's going to be a negative experience. It attacks you, harms you, kills you. So that's another angle to look at this from. Final question.
No, there's the other one too. You forgot. It's possible that you land out there and you're pregnant and you have the child and the bear raises your child.
What
That
the
could
fuck?
happen technically, right?
Okay.
You could be some Disney shit going down.
That's
out in the
Mowgli
forest
right
as well.
there.
Good. Some Winnie the Pooh shit. Last thing. If you could, given that I guess bears are not as dangerous as men, do you think you would be more safe or less safe if you just replaced all men with bears? Starting with you, go ahead.
Less safe, I guess. I don't know. I feel like that's like
Snap your
such a funny
finger.
question.
All the
I
men
don't
just
know.
transform into bears. And it's the proportional distribution. So there's some black bears, some grizzlies, other types of, I don't know.
Polar bears.
Polar bears, those are bad.
Oh, yeah. That was-
So you could be up in the club, fucking dancing and shit.
No.
Boom, all bears.
I would be terrified.
At Trader Joe's, getting some fucking.
I would say, wait, sorry.
So-
I totally forgot the question. Say that again.
Would you be?
I'm sorry.
Would you be more safe or less safe if the scenario was you just instantly replace all men with bears?
I would feel less safe. Simply.
Like, it's like all men are gone and it's literally just wild bears.
Yeah. So a bear just takes all men's place. So wherever the men are. So you could be driving.
It's like you're a bear.
Right now, I'm a
everyone
bear.
is
I'm a bear.
Oh my
He's
God,
a bear.
you're a bear.
Nick's a bear.
Like, And you're asking me, would the world be less safe?
I suppose, would you?
Would I be?
Would you be more safe or less safe if all men just instantly transformed into
In a primitive sense, we would be less safe.
Okay.
Just Gerald donated $200. Of all the bears I've had within 20 feet of me, alone,
what's up, Dan?
in the backcountry of Alaska, I wish they had all been men.
Yeah, I've never encountered a bear, but I'd probably prefer them to be men. Thank you.
It's not usually a fun experience.
So wait, you were saying, can you just restate your answer really quick on the...
I said in a primitive sense, we would be less safe.
Okay.
Grid 1 Motorsports donated $200. Men are defenders of women. It is sad you lot have had never met one. Feminism has failed you.
Speaking
The
of that.
patriarchy values and protects women, and stands ready to help you return to sanity.
Okay.
Be better.
All right. Thank you, Grid 1, for that. Appreciate it. Okay. So you said you would be less safe if it was all bears.
Yes.
But you seem a little like there's another side of the answer to that.
I just think it's like, like I'm not gonna get into it. Like yes, logically, we would be less safe.
Okay.
I would just say I'll go with the men instead of bear everywhere. I
Okay.
feel like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, what?
I would pick the man over the bear every time.
Okay.
We'd be less safe.
If it was all bears.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, a stupid question, but yeah, we'd all be in danger.
Less safe.
Yeah, less safe.
Oh, what? Surprising from you.
I just
You wanted to be in a room alone with
I'm
a bear.
different. It's
Okay.
okay.
All right. So, okay, moving on to a different topic. Kind of.
Can I ask just a very quick follow-up, if you don't mind?
Go ahead.
I was just wondering on this, how many of you here, just by a quick raise of hands, have seen the movie Bambi?
Bambi?
Yeah,
With
Disney
the
movie
deer?
Bambi. Yeah, how many people on the panel have seen the movie Bambi?
Show
Or
hands.
any Disney movie where animals are represented as talking and, they chat with people.
Does
and
Shrek
stuff like
count?
that. Like most. Yeah, would it be most of you? There's something called anthropomorphizing, or anthropomorphizing animals, where basically you give them human-like traits. And what happened, there was this interesting phenomenon which happened back when Bambi came out. Tons and tons of feminists came out against deer hunting. They went crazy about it because, there's a scene where the mom gets shot and Bambi's crying and, blah, 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 blah. Do you think that there might be some of that going on here, that maybe you humanize these wild, insane animals a little bit, and that maybe media has added to that? I'm just curious.
Yeah, definitely.
Most likely. I think, I don't know, personally, I know I will try to attribute the best qualities in, animals. It's...
You
I
think
don't
you
know.
humanize them a little bit?
Oh, definitely. But in this...
Like if you
in
got a
this
dog,
whole,
do you treat your dog
yeah.
like a human? Are
Huh?
you like...
Oh, yeah.
I mean, yeah.
I
I'm
talk to
really
my
asking,
cat like that
do you
as a
treat your dog
baby.
kind of like a human?
I don't know. It's also, I think, just of course, they might attack you. They might be feral. There might be this. There might be that. But at the end of the day, it's an animal, and they don't I don't know. We evolve differently, so we have different standards for our species.
Okay, gotcha. I mean, the reason I'm curious about this is it's a real phenomenon, and it seems to affect females more than it does men. And I think the reason for that is probably a lot more men go out and deal with wild animals than women generally, right? I'm not saying always, but generally they do. Do you think maybe you're humanizing the bear a bit? You said definitely. Anybody else there think maybe you're humanizing the bear just a bit?
I totally see your point, and I think it's totally valid because people tend to anthropomorphize things that they like and tend to dehumanize things that they would be afraid of. And in this sense, not that it's logical for women to be afraid of men or for women to be afraid of all men, but if that's the knee-jerk instinct in this sense, that it would make sense that maybe there's a tendency to humanize animals and dehumanize
Yeah.
men. I'm not saying that's a good
Yeah.
thing, and I'm sure
Yeah,
as a man,
you,
maybe you
for
wouldn't
instance,
appreciate it.
you personally, do you have a dog?
Mm-hmm.
Do you humanize the dog?
Yeah.
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 And do you think maybe most women humanize a dog? Like, if one of you, if you were married and you couldn't afford to take the dog to a vet to have it put down because it was super sick, is the husband getting that job or are you doing that job?
I don't want to think about that.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, who's going to do that job in that situation? Is it going to be you or is it going to be the hubby? Who's putting down Fido?
Anyways, do you have anything else, Andrew? Andrew, do you have anything else?
Yeah, but
on
I mean,
this?
I think this is an important, pertinent point to this. Just to kind of wrap it up. Who's doing it?
Can you guys give
Are
answers?
you going to put down
Can you guys
Fido,
give
or
answers,
is
just so we can?
Personally, I probably would, just because I'm more involved with animals.
Yeah, you would, right? But I wonder if she would. Would you do it, or would you have the hubby do it, or the significant other?
Who are you talking to?
You. I'm sorry.
Oh. Like, if I were to have to, like, put down my own dog versus, like, my husband or my dad or something like that.
Yeah, would you prefer that they put it down on your
Yeah,
behalf?
because I wouldn't want to kill my dog because I humanize my dog. And I
Right.
also wouldn't want to kill a living being. I don't even know if it really is that aspect. I think it would just kind of suck.
Okay.
The Bad
Okay, I was
News
just
Bears
curious.
donated $200. National Park Statistics places homicides in the wilderness since 2007 to 2023 at 38. Wildlife incidents as a cause of death is 9. So, perhaps the ladies are onto something.
No, they're still not onto anything because of close contact. How many people go out to the wilderness, for instance, and have these encounters over and over and over again with these wild animals? And the ones that do are going to be the ones more prone to attack, just like the ladies here. All of them are much more prone to be in contact with men over and over and over and over again. That's why their chances of being attacked by men go up significantly. However, if they were around bears all day, their chance of being attacked by bears would probably be a lot higher than by strange men. That's the point. More bears you're around, the more wild, stranger bears that you're around, the more likely you're going to get attacked by one. The more wild, strange men that you're around, the more likely to be attacked by one. The question is, which one's more likely to attack you the more you're around it? It's going to be wild bears.
Also, people, we already established that, your risk of violent attack, assault, homicide, it's more likely to be from somebody who you know. So a couple could go camping in the woods and they would count it in this statistic. I don't think this homicide thing is factoring in, do you know the person, do you not know the person? This number could be even lower if it's from a total stranger. And even if it's total stranger versus encounters with wild animals, I would still say
But this is so simple. Like, you guys, all of you guys can conduct a very simple experiment. You ready? Walk over to random men you don't know, reach over and pat them on the head and walk away and see what happens. Do the same thing with wild bears. Walk over, pat them on the head and walk away and see what happens. Which one do you think is going to be far more likely? Now, you might be able to pat a couple of wild bears on the head and walk away. You might be able to do that. But I can guarantee you that a lot more of those bears are going to attack you than men are. It's very simple. This is not complex in any way.
Final thing on the bear thing, then we will move it on. I've got a couple other fun scenarios here. So does it change anything, for example, if it's a gay man or bear?
Yes.
So you pick the man?
I'd pick the gay man.
Opposed
Not even just because he'd help me, but because it's like we're in it together.
He
Like
can go
we're
shopping
getting
with you
out of the
after.
situation. Not even that, but just I feel like the hike would be a lot funner. Like we're chit-chatting, getting through the woods, finding our way back. It's a little adventure.
Okay. All right. Interesting. Anybody else? Do you guys change if it's a gay man? Does that change anything? For those of you who said bear, does it change? Speak now, forever hold your peace. You said bear.
Okay.
I think you said man originally. Bear. Someone, I don't know. Okay. What if it's a giant lesbian woman who's a professional MMA fighter? Does that
Whoa.
change anything? Versus bear.
I'll take her.
You'll take the giant.
I'll go with her.
Okay.
I'll go with her.
How about so what about a gay man who is a bear or a bear. Do you know that category of gay man? Like, so there's like bears.
Oh.
Like they're kind of like a bit like hairy guys, basically.
Like he's like a
He's a
Like
dom,
a big guy.
right?
No,
Okay,
not
yeah.
a dom.
Oh,
No, like a bigger
but he's
guy.
like
It's
a
like kind of
big, strong
big,
gay man.
brawny, tend to be hairy,
Oh.
bearded gay man.
Chunkier guy.
Yeah, it's how there's like twinks. It's like a category of gay man.
Okay.
There's a Wikipedia article on this. Anyways, anything? Does that change it?
I'd love to get lost in the woods with
Okay.
a bear.
What about a woman who you know is a serial killer versus a random man? Like
Pick
so,
the
the
random man. Yeah.
random man or woman who's a serial killer.
She's like a proven serial killer. Like, obviously, I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about a gay serial killer?
I think on the note of gay,
Versus men.
I would rather be in the woods with a gay man because gay men are perceived as less aggressive and they can't SA me. But I mean, I like not that they physically can't. The point is that like I would
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they can.
They could.
Pretty sure.
I don't
pretty
think
sure
they would
can
be
do
as
that.
motivated to whatever. In my opinion, I stereotype gay men as less aggressive than straight
Okay.
men. But that's
What about like survival instincts? Would you rather be with a gay man than a straight man? Do you think he would be
Like
able
in
to
the woods?
survive more?
like
Yeah.
like statistically, he could easily be insane. Like so. I don't know.
But here, let me ask you this. This is like a dumb logic, right? But I'm just curious, right? For me, this is dumb logic. But I just want to know. Wouldn't it also count against you? Because if you're saying a gay man has no sexual interest in you, then all he has to do is run faster than you and leave you for the bear, right? He doesn't really value you for anything. And wouldn't the straight man value you? Like he's like, I can't let this bear.
I don't,
this
it's not about
beautiful
sexual
woman, right?
interest.
Wait, so the straight man would like sacrifice his life, like do this heroic thing.
Oh, maybe.
So if you pick
Yeah.
the gay man, he's like, I'm out of
And
here.
then he's like, I'm out. And
Yeah,
then
he's like, he doesn't have to run fast. He just has to run faster than you, right? As
he
the
wouldn't
saying
give you any of
goes.
his
And
food
so he
either.
doesn't
He'd
he
be
doesn't
like-
value you like the straight man would, right? By your logic. So like, I mean, wouldn't that actually kind of be the bad choice?
like maybe. Like I don't know. I'm not thinking about it.
Wait.
It depends on if it was like in the matter of him protecting me, because like sure there's a stereotype that straight men would be stronger than a gay man, and that I'd be like, sure, maybe you're gonna protect me. I don't think it's about the sexual interest.
Yeah.
Like,
no, I
don't wanna
understand,
make it
but
sound
I'm
like that.
thinking of it differently as a value structure, right? So the perceived threat that you would have from a straight man is that the straight man's going to have some kind of sexual interest in you, and the homosexual man is not going to, because he's a homosexual man, right? That's why he's a safer bet. That's why you were saying he's safer, because he doesn't have any kind of like sexual interest towards you, essentially.
that I like perceive them as less aggressive.
Right, because they don't
on the
have that
basis of their
interest, right?
sexuality. I don't know. I actually haven't thought about it that deeply.
Yeah, but probably it's because of that particular interest why you would see them as being less threatening. But if that's true, then wouldn't that actually mean that they valued you less? I guess I'm just wondering. You know what I mean? Like,
As a sexual
shit,
partner,
they
but-
value you less, then they can make you bear food so that they can get the hell out of there. You know?
Yeah, if
I
he was
just
an
thought it
asshole,
kind of
he could. Yeah.
Anyways, okay, just a few more things here, then I'll move it on. So, since we were bringing up the comparison of gay man versus lesbian woman, I did actually want to point out statistics when it came to domestic violence. So actually, what you find interesting is that in lesbian couples, if we're comparing lesbian to lesbian to gay men to lesbians to heterosexuals to gay men, the incidence rates of domestic violence are the highest among lesbian couples. And then you have heterosexual couples, and then it's actually lowest, interestingly enough, between gay men. So it's interesting, when you put two men in a relationship, you would think, well, the DV rates would be high. But actually, when you put two women in a relationship, that's when you see the highest incidence rate of domestic violence. And then between that, you have heterosexual relationships, and then the lowest rate of DV is in gay two men relationships.
Where did you get those stats? I've never heard of
You
that
can
before.
you can look it up on Wikipedia. It's been well studied.
These are from the FBI statistics, actually. You can find them direct from the FBI. They source all of these. There's actually in-depth studies which go into it even beyond the FBI statistics, but definitely the highest rates of domestics, as Brian is pointing out, are conducted by same-sex female couples, for sure. That's not, I mean, many times higher, in fact, interestingly enough.
Yeah. And then I'm trying to think what does it change anything if the bear is misogynistic?
What?
If the
So
bear's
the
a
bear-
misogynist.
The bear can think like a human. And
Yeah, if the bear's a woman-hating misogynist. Okay, it's a joke one. And then I think the last one, does it change if you're menstruating? Because can't bears detect smell?
Oh, like they would
Oh,
like
he
smell
gets,
the
like,
blood and then
smell
be
my
like,
blood.
oh yeah, I'm gonna be more likely to attack
is
you.
it
But
a
they're not carnivores though.
bear?
Bears?
bears will, I think
I thought they were omnivores.
Yeah, they are. They're omnivores. They eat
they're
meat
omnivores.
plenty.
Yeah.
Well, isn't there something
Especially fish. They really like fish, and they like, but they'll eat carrion, they'll eat dead animals. They basically eat whatever they can get their hands on.
but isn't there something where if a woman's menstruating, could potentially be more dangerous for her to be in the vicinity,
It's a potentiality with all wild
sharks.
animals.
I've heard
But
this
the
with sharks.
links to that can't be ethically studied very well, as you might. They can't really be ethically studied very well. You can't
True.
be like, well,
True.
okay, so you started last week. We've got this wild bear. We hope for the best. Women who are like, yeah, sure, I'll marry a dude who makes $150,000 a year and pays for all my shit. That sounds a lot different than I'm looking to get married. To me,
Who said that?
That sounds different.
Absolutely
to me.
not. Absolutely not. I'm curious which one of us said that.
Well, so as we're going around the table, right, what do you think that when you say a man who can support himself and is supporting himself and can support a family, if he lives in the Santa Barbara area, what do you think that would take if you had to guess?
Probably over $300,000 a year, but we're not talking about this specific location. We're not including the fact that each of us I think everyone around the table is willing to have a 2-income household. Do you agree or do you disagree? I think partnership is everything. My dad and my stepmom, my dad is 16 years older than my stepmom. They've been together for 18 years now. He invested in her company and now she makes more money than him and she's the main provider of our household. I think
So
that
he gave her money for her company, and now her
yep, and
company's
she's
doing
paid it
well.
all back. Her company is doing much better, or it's doing well, and now she makes more money than him and pays his mortgage. And she's also helping me pay for my college. So women
Well, yeah,
can
that's
be
great. That's
providers.
called dividends. That's called dividends. That's how that works when you invest in a company and it does well. You get money back out of it. That's
Absolutely,
how it works.
but she is a female.
He could have done.
working
He could have done that without any marriage, right?
Yeah, but I think if you find a partner who's willing to work with you and grow with you and create a sustainable life for you and a future family, I think that's an absolutely beautiful thing for both partners to have ambition. And also, I would be perfectly happy, marrying a woman who makes more money than me or less money than me, or marrying a man who makes more money than me or less money than me, as long as in our combined household, we can ensure the safety of one another, and we both have similar mindsets with financial planning, investments, retirement funds, college funds if we are planning to have children, Roth IRAs, that type of issue.
What about the love thing? Is that the most important factor, or the money
For
thing?
marriage?
Absolutely.
Love for marriage, is that more important than money? Is that the question?
Yeah.
Nothing in life is free. If you marry someone for the money, you earn every penny. That's what my mom would tell me when I was a kid.
I'm sure she would.
So it would be money. That's
No,
more important
the
than that.
point is
Yeah.
that if you marry someone for the money, you earn every penny because you choose a life of unhappiness.
Yeah.
I think that was the lesson she always taught me. You have to be open-minded, Not everything in life is material. And I think because there are so many ways to make money independently, for example, writing your own book and creating your own platform, I think there's less of a necessity for women to marry solely for money, when in the past and not that long ago, we couldn't even have our own credit cards, without the permission of a man.
Yeah, but
We
you
can't-
also didn't incur any debt. That's why you couldn't have credit cards.
Yeah, but we were owned property by men.
You weren't owned property. That's ridiculous.
There's not a point in human history where women have been property of men.
That's not what I said. I said you weren't owned property in this country, ever.
Me personally, no, but
No women. Women were not.
In the United States, women were never considered legal property
not
of
legal
another
property.
person.
But if you're don't have body autonomy and you can't make your own income, and you have to rely on being married in order to have any type of social standing.
Women
or
could
status,
always make their own income in the United States. Where on earth did you get the idea that they couldn't?
Guys,
Did you learn this in feminist studies class 101?
But like white women, like we're not really accepted into the working class.
if you want to argue, I'm not saying there was no room for income and that there was no room for any type of sustainable life or women to, create some type of wealth. Until really wartime, women weren't allowed in the workforce, and that was only because there were no men.
Where did you get the idea that
Where
they
in the
weren't?
workforce were they not
They
allowed?
were still nurses. They were still teachers.
Guys.
They were still doing all sorts
Nurses
of jobs
and
inside of
teachers,
society. What do
so
you mean?
they were limited
Same types
to
of jobs they're doing
domestic
right now,
role
by the
laws.
way. They were doing.
They were
hang
t-
on.
they were
doing. Hang on. Just
One at a
calm
time,
down.
one at a time.
Relax. They were doing clerical work. They were teaching. They were nursing. They're doing all the same jobs that they're basically doing right now.
Okay, well, there are plenty of women who are moving up in corporate worlds as well as moving up in different sections
No, there's not
of
very many
career.
women who are moving up with the corporate ladder in
Compared
corporate world.
to
So why
50
there's so
years
many?
ago?
There's so few female CEOs for a reason. They don't gravitate towards that kind of work.
Okay. You're right. I'm wrong. Women are they are only meant to do domestic work.
No, I don't think that's
I
what
mean,
he's saying.
That's not what I said. That's a mischaracterization. I'm just explaining to you the reality. I don't understand why you're being so aggressive. I haven't been mean to you.
Can I
I'm just
ask
explaining
something?
to you.
Yeah, go for it.
What the reality of the situation is.
Go ahead, and then Isabel will go. Go ahead.
What does this have to do with women not being able to own, have their own credit cards or open a bank account in their own
Well,
name?
because women not being able to have bank accounts and credit cards because they weren't allowed to incur debt. This was great because right now the biggest holders of debt in the United States are women. It's crushing for most women. Before that, men had to incur all the debt. So the wife could go out and spend all of the money that she wanted in her husband's name, and he had to incur the debt even post-divorce. He still had to take care of the debt. She had none of it in her name. This was one of the primary arguments against feminism from the anti-suffragettes, is that they did not want to incur debt. And now women have racked up tons and tons of it.
I mean, so have men. It's crushing for men too. So I mean, I don't really think anyone should be forced to incur debt. So I'm not sure why.
Well, you know what? I think that if I asked a man if he got married, if all of the debt would be incurred by the woman and all he had to do was not have a credit card or bank account, he'd take that deal in 5 seconds.
What do you mean by not be forced to incur any debt?
It means that everything that all money that I spend on all
Grid1
credit cards are
Motorsports
immediately in your
donated
name.
$200. In 1877, a woman was elected mayor in Kansas. Your history sucks. Accuracy matters. You are in fact wrong. Feminism has failed you. Patriarchy is the way to the truth, and stands ready to help be better.
Yo, Grid One, thank you. You had a question for her.
Yeah, I
you
just wanted to get some clarification there. Nobody should be forced to incur debt. What does that mean?
Just like in a purely hypothetical, perfect world, no one would be taking on debt to go to college.
Well, let's talk about the real world.
Okay. In the real world, I mean, that's not possible.
Yeah.
But I don't think that it should. I mean, basically, you're implying that it's good that it's men's responsibility to incur all debt. And I feel like if that were actually the case, then we would be in a different argument where it would be like, well, women suck because women don't incur any debt and we incur all of their debt. So I feel like it's just kind of like a bad faith argument. I don't know.
Well, it's not a bad faith argument. It's just giving a descriptor for why it happened that way. Sure. Why it was that women, and there was far more anti-suffragettes than there were pro-suffragettes, by the way, made very compelling arguments, like they didn't want to get drafted, for instance. They didn't want... See, what the anti-suffragettes said was that women had the moral high ground because they weren't political tools. They weren't political tools because they couldn't vote. So they weren't tapped into as being political tools. So when they said something, they said it from a position of moral authority. They weren't being tapped into. So this is how they were able to argue successfully for things in women's interests without being just considered another voting bloc that needed to be appealed to. When it came to debt and things like this, it is true that women didn't hold they could have bank accounts, by the way. But most of the time, when they opened up lines of credit and debt and accounts, it was always in their husband's name, but the husband was also responsible for all of the debt, and the women weren't. And even when the man died, the woman would get his property, but it may not be the same if a woman died, that he would automatically default and get the property. She was able to incur all sorts of wealth for herself and didn't have to spend it.
Do you think that's a more preferable system? Would you like to go back to that financial?
Well, I think it's a more preferable system to begin to move women outside of the workplace. That way we can go back to a family dynamic that works, and we can get the reproductive health of the United States back up, because right now it's in the gutter. I don't know if you know this or not, but it's in the gutter.
So
Our
then,
birth rate's way low.
Then why would it be a problem for any of us to say we'd like a man who can support a family? Why is that a problem if you think that men should be incurring all the debt and taking on all the financial responsibility? If a woman says, well, I'd like a man who can support a family in Santa Barbara,
Well, because
why is that a problem?
this is a cyclical problem. The problem is if you say, I would love to have a single income support me, but then at the same time not recognize the problem that if you double the workforce, you're going to have the wages of men, that you're basically perpetuating the same issue that you're against.
Jump in.
I think it's...
Last thing after you make
So
your point.
sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. Say your thing, but I'm going to move on after that. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I just think for me, it's kind of the constant dichotomy of men constantly arguing, oh, well, women want men to pay for everything and want us to take care of them. But then it's also the idea of, oh, well, women can't do any jobs that aren't nursing or being a teacher or doing all these things naturally in the workforce, because women, whether or not you want to argue these aspects of history, on a mass scale, entered the workforce at a later date. The same thing with how women entered professional sports at a later date, or any other kind of gendered aspect of life, which is most of society. You're welcome to interject.
Well, really quick on the professional sports thing. So what exactly, when you bring up professional sports,
Sure.
do you mean because women got into professional sports at a later date, that's the reason why there's a pay discrepancy in sporting
I think
events?
of course there's a pay discrepancy in sporting events based off of turnout and these other things,
Okay.
but I'm saying there's no foundation of growth. If you are able to acquire wealth and work jobs for hundreds of years, whether it is or decades, whether it's being a doctor, whether it's being a lawyer, and these institutions only existed under the guidance of men being able to do those things, such as Harvard only being a male-only school until the last 50 or 60 years.
Yeah, but
wait,
I'm
still talking.
Stop.
Thank you.
That's ridiculous.
Oh, it is not, because my grandmother went to the sister.
Hang on. Women have always outdone men academically, including in high school. They've always had better scores. Always. That has been the case. And there was no barrier for public education. Early feminists were flying all over the world. They were writing books, they were writing pamphlets, they were writing essays, and they were highly educated.
100%.
No men were pushing them out of those domains of academia.
I hear you, and I understand that that's your perspective, and I want to acknowledge that there are so many smart, scholarly women, but it is an absolute reality that women's work has been discredited. I can cite, I study biological anthropology.
Nonsense. What woman's work was discredited because she was a woman?
Look up when women were allowed to attend Harvard University for me, quickly.
Yeah, why? But who cares if that was exclusive? There was tons of other universities for them to attend to. And what is the problem with having a male-only college anyway if somebody wants to have one?
If prestigious universities catered exclusively to men and women entered these different aspects of the workforce later, it will take more time.
That's not what happened.
And it will take gradual progress for women to continue to be in those fields of study. Are there probably statistically in the U.S. more male chemists or lawyers at UCSB, for example? The majority of professors on the panel of the chemistry department are white men. But does that mean in the next 20 years?
That's because women suck at applied science.
Why?
That's why they all get sociology degrees.
Tell me the science of why men perform higher in chemistry.
Look,
because I
at some point you gotta let me respond.
No, go ahead. Tell me the statistics.
Because what you're doing is you talk so much, I can't actually go
tell me
point
the
by point with
statistics
you.
of how men perform higher in chemistry.
I'll try to go point by point. Let's go with point one.
Sure.
Yes, it is true that when you're talking about scientific fields, especially chemistry, that's an applied science. Women don't go for applied science.
That's actually not entirely true. Women make up the majority of STEM degrees today.
Let me finish. Okay, calm down. Soft sciences are preferable by women. They prefer soft science. Sure. I don't know why. right? Nobody knows why. Well, I mean, we have an inkling as to why, but they don't. They don't prefer it. The hard sciences are preferred by men. That's why you see mostly men inside of hard science fields. That is true.
Yeah, so
that's point one.
As of recently, the majority of STEM degrees actually are being pursued by women. I think a lot of that can be attributed to the modern cultural feminism movement at large.
No.
Period.
The devil's in the details. What kind of STEM degrees?
Largely the sciences. I have a degree,
What
2 degrees actually, in
sciences?
biomedical sciences, one in undergrad and one in graduate school.
What about engineering?
But correct, women statistically make up less of engineering programs until recently.
So
women are becoming a much larger
just
growing
saying it's a STEM
demographic in
field,
these things. But this is my question
okay,
is...
hang on. Just saying it's a STEM field is not relevant. For instance, if you look at the replication crisis, you'll note that it's not just sociology which it affects, but the medical field as well. Medical fields are full of STEM degrees. However, it's not always replicatable science. It fails up to 60% of the time, for instance. That's still a soft science. Just saying that it's a STEM field doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
The stupid in you must really hurt.
It wasn't Brown.
Men went to Harvard or Yale, which were
wasn't
male
Brown
only.
University at the
Women
time.
went to Brown and others. Brown was all female. Are you trying to be this stupid?
Anyway, my question is, we can talk about men generally having more analytically structured brains, and that's why they've pursued applied sciences larger than the soft sciences, which women generally have pursued out of a more empathetic, emotional perspective historically, and they still do tend to pursue those career paths. I guess my question for you, Luce, is if women have been strategically held back for so long by society, if they've, in your own words, taken so much extra time to be admitted to schools like Harvard or to be given professional athletic opportunities, etc., we could keep going example by example, then what's the solution? Are you just saying women are always going to be considered, in your worldview, second-class citizens, or is there a change that needs to happen in your perspective societally to accomplish that?
I'm not saying that women are second-class citizens in the United States, and I'm not saying that in my personal experience I've felt second-class to anyone. I acknowledge certain privileges that I've had and the ability to pursue education, etc. But I do absolutely think when there is a woman expectation, for example, when my dad left my mom, she became a stay-at-home single mother, and she was living off of alimony and child support. But she needed to be taking care of 2 kids in the home at that time, and the court kind of put that onto her. My dad did not want custody, and I think very often women are forced into positions of nurturing and caring for whether it's their partners, their children, etc. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing or a wrong thing, and I'm not saying that, I personally do feel like I do have some level of a nurturing or more maternal aspect to me that maybe a man might not have. But I think it's very hard to succeed in your career for many women who don't have the socioeconomic standing or certain privileges to pursue those fields without, the consequence of having to take care of, whether it's younger siblings or their own children, or being forced into positions of choosing career versus family. I think, is anyone familiar with the poet Sylvia Plath?
Oh yeah,
Well,
I'm very
she
familiar. Sylvia Plath. Do you know how Sylvia Plath met her demise?
I do, and my point is, she writes a.
Tell them how that
she
Sylvia
committed
Plath met her
suicide, and
demise.
she wasn't necessarily. Oh, excuse me.
Whatever, just continue.
Sorry. She wasn't necessarily the greatest person in the world, but she did write a poem.
No, she really wasn't, was she? She was pretty awful, wasn't she?
She was awful, but she did write a discussion about a poem called One Fig Tree. And she basically discusses how, as a woman, she felt like she had 3 paths in life: a famous poet, a mother with a good husband and good children, or a scholarly professor. And I think that's a choice that women are often expected to choose, is family, career, hobbies, whereas men often get the immediate option of choosing career. And that's not necessarily to say all men want that. But I do think women are asked to sacrifice more
she also drew
socially.
pictures of aborted fetuses, and she also wrote poems about unaliving. She also wrote all kinds of insane poems. She was a lunatic.
But is she a lunatic any more than any crazy
Than any
artist.
of the feminists? No, she's not any more of a lunatic than any of
She
them.
was actually
That's
a
true.
self-proclaimed not feminist, so do not associate her with that
She
movement.
is a feminist, and her husband was a feminist and supported all of her work with his money because he was a feminist. He propagated
very
the
problematic,
feminist
actually.
agenda.
But my point is that I think a lot of women are asked to sacrifice more individually than men are on a career scale or on a family scale.
Bullshit.
Nuclear family, for example.
What?
So
How are they
what
asked
about
to
the nuclear
sacrifice
family
more?
is asking women to sacrifice things that the men isn't?
How many men do you know that were ever stay-at-home dads?
My dad, for one, for
Yeah,
several
but-
years of
but
my childhood.
statistically. Huh?
No.
Sorry, go ahead. I'm just saying there is an expectation on women, from whether it's a natural perspective or an evolved perspective. Women bear children for a duration of 9 to 10 months. They have to take care of them biologically post-birth, whether it's through breastfeeding or other acquisitions. And I think because of those biological factors, we have been forced more into the nurturing role in a social sphere as well.
Wait.
That's a powerful word. Forced is a really powerful word.
Hold on. Can you just repeat? You said that how many men do you know who
were stay-at-home dads versus
Grid
stay-at-home
1
moms.
Motorsports
I'll get to that
donated
in just a sec.
$200. If you think it is easy to be a man, read Self-Made Man by Nora Vincent. Your little mind will explode. Your simplistic arguments insult literally everyone watching this program. Let the adults talk.
For those who don't know, Nora Vincent, a woman who did this like kind of experiment where she basically lived as a man. I don't think she was transgender, but she dressed like a man, looked like a man, lived like a man. And she was like, because she's a feminist, oh, this is going to be so easy, blah, 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 all this privilege. And then actually it was just totally brutal, like the social
100%.
aspects of it. But you were saying something about, well, how many men do you know who would
I
be
think,
stay-at-home?
Agreed, but to your point, I think it is very hard to be a man the same way it's very hard to be a woman, the same way it's very hard to be a human being. No part of my argument was saying that it's not
What's
difficult.
the thing with the stay-at-home parent, though?
I just think statistically, until very recently, it was significantly less likely that men would be stay-at-home parents, as well as the failure of our career system not allowing men to take paternal leave.
Well, do you think that there's just, I would argue that there's, like, who would you say is to blame for that? That, like, men just, don't want to
I'm not
be-
blaming anyone. I'm saying it is a natural part of our society that women have been not forced, excuse me.
Yeah.
Language.
Didn't you earlier say that you want a guy to pay for the first date?
If he asks me out, if I ask him out, I'm happy to pay.
Do you ask guys out?
Yeah, I have.
Okay.
In the
Generally
past, for
speaking,
sure.
do you think who's initiating first dates?
Obviously, men,
I would
probably
argue
statistically.
99% of first dates, men are the ones initiating.
I don't know. Men are kind of scared these days, so
Well,
I would say I would say it's fairly even. But all I was saying that because of the actual biological factor of being a childbearing woman, not that all women are, I think there is a standard in our society that women are these nurturing roles, and that reflects in the careers that you proclaim that women succeed
But hold on,
the
I'm
most
going back
in.
to this. You stated something
Yeah,
about.
but I mean, why?
Hold on.
Why is that?
You stated something about. Well, men, they wouldn't be these stay-at-home fathers. Well, that's amazing.
I didn't say
hold
that.
on. You said something about.
I didn't.
Then restate it for me.
I'm saying
Something about the stay-at-home fathers.
when you consider the fact that even if you look in the court of law, even when the mother is the unfit parent, the court of law in a divorce case will always favor the woman getting custody.
Sounds like a female privilege, doesn't it?
I mean, if having to deal with kids, 3 screaming children on your own is a privilege to you, maybe. But I think that aspect
Why are
of
they in
female
court?
privilege was created by
If there's
the
a custody,
patriarchy.
if there's a custody dispute,
Sure.
somebody's desirous of having custody.
Sure.
So let's assume that it's the man who's desiring custody and the woman doesn't want it. That wouldn't be a male privilege that he doesn't get custody.
Why do you think I'm saying male privilege or female privilege? I'm saying objectively in the court of law, they favor women. And that's a negative a lot of the time for men who want to participate in parenting. I think women are looked at as mothers. in society, and that's not necessarily always true and not necessarily
And men are
always
looked
fair.
at as wallets
Okay.
and providers and
Oh,
disposable.
that's terrible. I'm sorry
and
that that's been your
disposable.
experience. I'm not saying one is worse than the other
Cool.
or one's untrue.
But you said something, I'm trying to get back to the original point. You said something about single stay-at-home fathers.
Yeah.
What was your argument?
I was just stating that there are less stay-at-home fathers, as well as
And
the
that's-
failure of our career system that does not allow a lot of men to take.
That's because of a mating pressure that women put on men, not because there's that's entirely a mating pressure that women impose on men. We went around this table. All of you said the guy has to make this much money. He has to pay for the first date, blah, blah, blah. That's a mating pressure you impose.
I mean, I've
It has
dated
nothing to do
people
with
from
patriarchy.
multiple different. I think it's difficult to argue that, oh, well, this has nothing to do with this, and this is the only reason that this is aligned, and this is the only problem. Like, none of us are arguing that men don't have problems in dating. I'm not saying that it's ethical that men are expected to be providers, but when you create a system in which there is a historical aspect where women were meant to provide children and
They still
essentially
are.
sex to men, a
Yeah, but
man
it's still the
provides his
system.
own service. That is his service of taking
hang on,
care
hang
of
on.
his family.
That system, what's wrong with that system? That's a good system. We need women to provide children. Nobody
Not
else
ev-
can
I
provide
mean,
children except women.
We're in overpopulation.
Actually,
already.
we're not. We're approaching population decline
Yeah,
like,
they're
rapidly
massive.
around
We're
the
in
globe
decline
today.
across the board. Not only are we in decline across the board, but if you look at some of the Asian nations like South Korea, for instance, it's not even one-to-one for replacement. If you look at Japan, right now, they're about to have a crisis where they have more elderly people than they have young people to take care of the elderly people.
The
This is
50
a
most powerful
cataclysm which is
countries in the
coming.
world actually cannot replace their current population. The
So my
50
question
most
becomes
powerful
this to you, right? My question becomes, why is this a bad system? Why do you think that it's bad that women are moved by society to stay at home and take care of their children? Why do you think that that's bad? That seems to be the most efficient system. Could you even think of a better system? Tell me, if you could come up with your dream system, what would it even be other than that?
My dream I can't wait to have children. I love children. Personally, it's never been a question for me. I can't wait to have children. I love children. I work with kids a bunch, and I think it's such a great blessing, motherhood. Not that everyone needs it, but for me personally. So I'm not at all anti-children, but I'm just I personally would love to have a family and have that dynamic.
So you actually can't
But-
think of a better system than that.
In my ideal world, I would love to have a partner who would go true 50-50 with me on caring for the children, as well as working as much as I work. Obviously,
Well,
if my
I mean,
partner,
if he's working, but if you had the ideal system, wouldn't your ideal system actually be that you could spend all of your time with your children
No.
while your husband worked?
because I would like the equal sacrifice in my relationship where I love children. I can't wait to be a mother, but I don't need to be the sole provider of my children for 24 hours a day. I would love to have a partnership where they are more than willing to help me, feed, take care of the children if I need a day.
But how's that equal if he's working?
Because I could work as well. There's so many
Yeah, I
different
know,
ways.
so this brings us back to the original question then. Is your time better spent working, or is your time better spent at home with your children, not outsourcing their care to somebody else while you're working? So for instance, let's say you had a baby, little Samantha. Do you think that little Samantha wants to go and get taken care of by some Venezuelan immigrant while you go work all day? Do you think that that's preferable?
I had an au pair growing up. She was a Haitian au pair, and she was one of the most beautiful, amazing women. And I never felt like it took away from my experience with my mother.
You preferred that over your mom?
I never felt like it took away from my experience with my mother.
That's not what I asked you. Did you prefer it over your own mother?
Probably.
Really? You preferred that this
My
this
mother.
other person
Not
took
every
care of you
woman
instead
is
of
a
your
great
own mother?
mother. Not every woman can be a great mother. Not every man can be a great father. And I think the
So
family
outsource them.
system.
So outsource your kids?
You don't have
That's
to.
your big plan?
If I am in a position in which I can adjust work hours or take time off of work or make sure my schedule aligns, or take off work until my children are in school and only work during school hours, etc., I find that to be not a problem at all.
Andrew, can
Yeah,
you
I know.
center?
I understand what you're saying. But let me give it back to you one more time. Why do you think it would be preferable if you had the option to stay at home to outsource your mothering to a stranger of your children? How, in what world does that make sense?
I'm not saying that I would have to do it to a stranger of my children. Everyone has different relationship dynamics, different financial statuses, you know. Maybe I have my parents are able to help take care, or my sister, which is a very natural part of human.
Or maybe nobody. Or maybe the daycare, right?
Or
don't you think it's preferable for
personally,
women
I would never send
to avoid the daycare?
If you want to ask the question and you want my answer, do you want me to answer?
Well, your answers are really long-winded. You see how short
fine.
and
I will do
make it?
short and sweet. I will do short and sweet.
Good.
I want to love my children in every way that I can, and I want to be an amazing mother. And I think if I spend my entire time losing my identity as an individual and only seeing myself as a mother, I will not be able to
What do you
provide.
mean only? Wait, what could possibly be more important than being a mother? There's nothing you could ever do in your life that's more important.
So for a
than
man,
that.
it's
Name
more important
one
for
thing
him
you
to
could
be a
do that's
father.
more important than being a mother.
God, being a good one.
That makes no what? That makes no sense.
That makes sense.
That makes so much sense.
What?
That makes complete sense.
Also, I might be
You have to be-
misunderstanding the conversation, but also
Hey, wait, hang on. I just want to make sure I got this right. What's more important than being a mother? Okay, being a good mother. Okay, great. What's more important than being a good mother?
Nothing. And
Nothing.
I
So
will,
then
I will,
being a good mother,
I will
if
take
nothing's more
every
important
step
than
in my
that-
life to assure that I can be a good mother, whether that's working, whether that's
Yeah,
maybe
by
needing a
outsourcing
nanny.
it to the Venezuelan immigrant. Yeah, your daycare.
What's wrong with a Venezuelan
genius
immigrant?
plan.
Maybe
Can I-
she lives at home with me and she's
Can
an
I
amazing
ask-
woman.
I mean, do you consider yourself, is his name Andrew?
Mm-hmm.
Andrew, do you consider yourself like a traditional person? Like, would you say that a traditional mindset
No,
is
I
like a
don't consider
traditional
myself
family?
trad or what is considered to be trad in modernity at all. I never have. I don't think we should go back to the 1950s or any of this nonsense. What I'm saying specifically, though, is this, that there is no better system that any of you can name than the nuclear family for the backbone of society. That's going to require stay-at-home mothers. There's nothing else that's better than that. We see the population declining. It's falling off like a rock. And so when I ask, what is it that's more important than being a good mother at home, none of you are going to be able to say that that's not the most important job. And yet, for some reason, women seem to want to outsource that job to other people, even though it's theirs. Husband can work, take care of you, you stay home. No, I have aspiring dreams that surmount being a mother when there's nothing else you could do that's more important than that.
Can I say something?
Go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
I think the ideal dynamic would be subjective to the two people in that dynamic. And
Andrew,
I think
can you
it's-
try to center yourself? Go ahead.
I think it's silly to try and tell other people in these relationships what to do because it's not your relationship. You don't know what's best for them. You know, we don't know what's best in your relationship, Andrew. We shouldn't.
We're not saying what. Listen, I'm not talking on the individual level. Everybody's individual situation is going to be different. Nobody disputes that that's true. But we can look at what is optimal.
So
and if
what
we're
if
looking at
someone
what is
has-
optimal for the most amount of people, what's optimal for the most amount of people is having a stay-at-home mom who takes care of their children and a father who works. How do we know that that's optimal? Because we can look at the results of the kids and what happens with the kids
Let's
when they come
say-
from single mother households, when they come from split family households. We can see exactly what happens, and it is not preferable to society in any way, shape, or form.
Let's say it's optimal and best for the child, for the parents to have a dynamic that works best for them where they can healthily show up for their kid the best way they can, whether it or not it be like a woman in the household taking care of the children or a father in the household taking care of the children. It doesn't really matter. Like what works best for them
you
is what works
could
best
you
for
could
them.
in some certain circumstances flip the script. That's true.
And it's, like,
but these
personally
would be
objective.
exceptions to the rule.
It's a
so for
personal
instance,
preference.
it's going to be optimal for a mom to stay at home over a dad, at least in the formative years of the child, right? She has to breastfeed. She has to do all of these things which are necessary for the health
Living
and the
underscore
welfare of the child. So it's an
donated
optimal system.
$200. Question for first girl. How often do you advocate for male-only scholarships, fostering male educational environment, etc.? Why are feminists not pushing for graduation parity now? I never hear it now.
Isn't it the case? What is the disparity? It's like 2 to 3, 3 to 2. Like 60% of women are going to college versus 40%. Like it's 60-40, I think, is the split. You go to UCSB, correct?
Correct.
I think it's 60-40 at UCSB. What do you have to say about that? Is that due to sexism?
I think that is really terrible and that everyone should
Do
have.
you?
Yeah, I think everyone should have full access and opportunity for education. Absolutely every person on this planet, whether or not I agree with them, whether they have different political views than me, any gender, race, everyone has the right to education, and our entire American education system is flawed. It's super expensive. There's a lot of pressure to get straight into the workforce. I think as we're talking about these different nuclear family dynamics, there is extra pressure on men to get straight into the workforce, and I don't necessarily agree with that. I think that
well, I don't know who's going to run all the infrastructure in society if we don't get young men out there in the workforce building all the infrastructure in society, because women aren't doing that. Men are doing that.
I think there's like a really big phenomenon happening today too, where there are a lot of depressed men that aren't really, it's not really being talked about.
Absolutely.
So I think that could also be a driving factor to the gender disparity of people attending college and universities.
Let me get a couple chats here. Pilvia Slath was absolutely shocked to see Luce. How do you say your name? Sorry, Luce. When I hopped in tonight, I love your poetry. Anyways, big fan of the podcast, Brian. Let's have a clean show tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Good stuff, Luce. JJ.
Oh, thanks, JJ.
Someone said something nice to you. There you have it. We have the Nordic Catholic. For the ladies, what do you think of men in the nursing field, and is it okay for a man to be a nurse?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's a great career. Of course.
It's actually more competitive to get into nursing school
Grid
than
1
med school
Motorsports
right now.
donated $200. Andrew is right, you should listen. If each of you were to die tomorrow and come back as a baby, would you rather have a nanny raise you, a daycare, or your loving mother? Feel free to go round.
Well, according to her, she thought it was better to be raised by somebody other than her mother. That's what she said
I had a
already.
mother who was not a good mother, personally. And my dad is an amazing person. My stepmom's an amazing person. So I think all family dynamics are different.
I agree. It's also subjective.
Don't you think maybe one of the reasons your mom wasn't such a great mom is because she outsourced how you were raised to a stranger?
No, I don't. Thank God she did, because I don't think I'd be here.
Word.
As I was saying, I agree. It's subjective. If a mother is unfit, I would prefer a nanny.
I love my mom.
I would also love a loving mother to raise me, but also not all mothers are good mothers, like she's saying.
Private chat, Nick, pull that shit up.
Loving mother.
Yeah, my mom. As a professional nanny, I have seen that the parents are more important, and it probably does damage some of the kids because they become more attached to me than to their parents, and I feel like that's definitely going to give them abandonment problems when they're older, because I majored in psychology, and I think that some of the kids I have watched became more attached to me than to their mother, which was very sad, especially when I'm only there for a year or two, and I mainly watched infants, so they are very attached to me instead of their parents, and their parents are good parents, but they're not around their child as much as I'm around.
No. There's so many bad mothers that we have to outsource all of the children to nannies and other people because mothers are apparently psychopaths who don't love their children enough.
What if
that
the
only
parents...
sounds moderately insane to me. I don't think it's true at all, but just my 2 cents.
Well, it's real. What if the parents have mental illness?
They
can't be there for
look
the
at the
kid.
exceptions to all the rules and then make policy for society based on exceptions. That's
but those
nuts.
exist.
And a lot of mothers go through
Yeah,
postpartum.
and that's
They're at
fine. They
risk
can
of harming
exist,
their
and yes,
own
maybe in
child.
those suboptimal situations, you can, have somebody come in order to regulate the child being raised. But in most situations, that is not the case, and there's nobody who's going to be better for the health and welfare of your children than you. Nobody's ever going to love them more than you.
Can I just ask again for clarification? Every single hand went up around the table when you said you wanted to get married, theoretically, someday. Who is looking forward to being a mom around the table or wants kids in some capacity?
High, please. Put them high.
That's fascinating to me. All but 2 in a society where we have the lowest birth rate ever. We literally can't even replace our own population. And I think it's unquestionable to say that feminism is really steering women away from wanting to have children today. They're looked at as a burden to your career, your personal life. Heck, even climate change is now a reason not to have kids because it's destroying the planet, as we hear from a lot of politicians currently in Washington. So, that is wild to me. At the same time, knowing that you guys want to get married and that you want to have children, how many of you would consider yourselves to be modern feminists?
Starting with you.
Who would call yourself
Starting
a
with
feminist?
I've never thought about it.
You don't
Really?
consider yourself a feminist?
I really don't like restricting myself to any like form of label.
Okay.
I don't like labels.
What is the actual definition of a feminist?
Well, I don't know that we
modern
have
feminist?
a definition today, to be honest with you. I think feminism.
Yeah, I can give you a
means-
good definition for feminism if you'd like one.
For today, let's hear
Yeah.
yours, Andrew.
Yeah, so this would be the belief in an egalitarian structure where men and women are both equal in nature and equal in equity and equal under the law.
I would question if that's really the definition of feminism for most modern feminists.
Oh, no,
today.
no. That is the best definition that I can give that the most amount of feminists would agree with.
Well,
and I'm
that's
willing to
interesting.
grant them the nicest definition that I can come up with to show them how bad it still is, even if I did.
That's your most charitable
It's my most charitable
All right.
definition.
That's
the
a-
nicest,
good clarification.
most charitable way that I could possibly do it.
If that's the definition, I would say I prefer justice over equality. I like to look at things more subjectively. Everyone's going to have a different experience or have different struggles or strengths, and I think subjectivity is more important than a label. I agree.
When you talk, just a quick follow-up, if you don't mind, very quickly. When you say justice, can you tell us what justice is?
So let's say you are at like a baseball game. This is like an old, like really, really old like Facebook post. And you are like watching over the stand. A man can watch over the stand. He's tall enough. A woman needs a stool and a child needs two.
That's equity, though. What makes that justice?
I would say more so that's justice.
Okay, so what makes it just?
So you are looking at something more subjectively.
So it's a subjective metric for
It's
justice.
subjective. And
Yeah, so is
you
all
are
justice
applying-
subjective?
You are applying what the person specifically needs. I'm not really sure I understand what you're asking.
Yeah, so
or-
let me explain. When I ask you what justice is, right? It's a hard question. I don't blame you for not knowing off the top of your head. I'm asking what you're grounding justice on. What is the grounding foundation for what you consider justice to be?
For me and how I look at things, like I said previously, I think it's subjective. What a person needs is what we should strive to like give them, you know, whether it be in a family dynamic, a child with disabilities, etc.
Yeah, but that's not a grounding foundation for why we should do that. It's just your belief that we
Why
should.
we should do that?
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, it's because it'll bring a sense of community. We care and love about each other.
So outcomes.
Sorry?
So it's outcomes based. Basically, you're looking at outcomes, and you're saying that if we're a just society under what you consider just to be, the outcomes are going to be better for society.
I mean, I'm not sure I'm following correctly.
If I ask you, so I'll try to make this like really crystal clear. If I'm asking you what is justice, and you give an example, and I ask you, but why should we do it? You say because it makes for a better society. Then
Okay.
wouldn't you really be basing justice on outcomes?
So, I suppose so. Like, for an example, for justice, let's say somebody like robs a store and harms an innocent shopkeeper. They should be arrested and prosecuted, but we shouldn't be arresting everyone and prosecuting them for robbing a store.
Yeah, but why
It's
shouldn't we arrest them, take them out, and put them in front of a firing squad immediately? Why would that be unjust?
Then you like dive into the philosophy of morality at that point.
Yeah, well,
So,
that's
like,
what justice is.
morals
Justice
also
is the
subjective.
philosophy of morality, right?
Yes. So, like, from
Yeah.
my personal standpoint, it would be my own values and morality of why I'm saying what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's everyone's
Okay.
opinion. Yeah.
Got it. Okay, so it's a subjective metric based on your subjective interpretation of what justice ought to be.
Sure.
Okay,
So
thank you.
wouldn't consider yourself a feminist necessarily. Wouldn't consider yourself a feminist
I would
necessarily.
consider myself a
You
feminist.
would. Okay.
yeah.
I think based off of like that specific definition of just wanting
I don't even
equity
think we
or
have to tie it to that
equality.
definition, but just what modern feminism has looked like
I-
for our generation.
I think that men and women should just be treated equally and have, you know, of course there's discrepancies, gender discrepancies. I won't act like
Do you
there
think they're
aren't
not?
differences. I think in some worlds they're not.
Living underscore donated $200.
Aspects.
Notice how when men are at a clear societal disadvantage it's called depression or everyone should have equal access. Sounds like all lives matter to me. Why is it not sexism in your eyes?
I'm not going to deny that in like social terms, there are a lot of things happening to men right now. But I'm not going to deny that there are a lot of things happening to women. I do think it's unfair that a man can have his reputation ruined just by pissing off some girl. Like, I've seen it happen. But I don't think it's all that common. And I think a lot of women that have talked about bad experiences with men are usually not believed.
Well, there's an easy way actually for us to determine at the table who's a feminist and who is not. If you don't want to go with the definition, I'll just ask a single question. Do you guys believe that being a stay-at-home mom holds women back?
It's a great question.
No.
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 Sometimes.
Oh, some.
Okay.
Just really quick around the
No.
table, please.
No.
No.
Absolutely not.
Okay, are you a feminist?
No.
I don't know. Honestly.
Yes.
You don't know anything, okay.
No.
I wouldn't consider myself a modern feminist, no.
All right.
Huh. Fascinating.
Nick,
thanks for watching. There is hope in Jesus Christ. He will never leave you or forsake you. Like and subscribe and join our Discord for friends and more.